We don't have Barney yet, but he did say he was going to be late.
Yeah, I believe he said he was going to be a little late.
Just wait for this to kind of do its thing. Wow, there's one person watching.
Wow.
Oh my god.
All right, so welcome to Vermont Comic Creators Comics Crit Hangout number 4.
C4.
C4. A dangerous, dangerous substance.
Most volatile.
So, let's see here. Just for those, for the one of you who's watching, this is the live and this is the live video stream of a hangout that goes on roughly once a week, where members of Vermont Comic Creators group get together and do critique and also talk about subjects related to making comics. Absolutely nothing frivolous, nor silly, nor off topic ever happens. It is a very, very controlled group, and there's nothing weird or off base or unprofessional that ever goes on. So if you're looking for that, you might want to go elsewhere to one of those other podcasts where they do that like goofing around stuff, whatever that is. This is purely serious at all times.
That was amazing timing.
That kind of stuff.
I'm bad at this. I'm very bad at this whole live on the internet.
That kind of stuff never happens.
What stuff? I don't know.
It didn't even happen just then either.
It was all in your brain.
So starting at my far digital left is Jack, followed by Jesse, followed by Randall. Hold on a second. Let me do this again. And my far digital left is Jack, followed by Jesse, Randall, and then myself.
Hello.
We are 4 different members of Vermont Comic Creators. All of us are independent comic book creators who are making our own books for ourselves in our own way as best as we can. And hopefully, if you're watching this, we might get some ideas about what it's like to do that sort of thing. You can certainly throw in any comments in the chat box on the right side of this page, and also if you are somebody that's creating comics, preferably from Vermont, but it doesn't have to be, I can certainly try to get you in on the conversation. So let's go around the table and start with Jack. You got anything just briefly you want to say before we get into the meat and potatoes of stuff?
We were supposed to have introductions.
I just figured why not give it a shot.
Okay. Well, the only notable thing I have currently is my webcomic Harmony Monsters. You can find it on Taptastic. Working on getting it printed, but that's still in the works.
Mm-hmm.
The end.
All right. Jesse, you want to tell a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Hello. My incredibly wide screen here. I am Jesse DURONA. I am a cartoonist from Vermont. I graduated from the Center for Cartoon Studies in 2011. I'm currently working on a webcomic called Dr. Professor Snugglebottom's Horrifying Housemates. The 4th one just dropped today. And you can see that on jessedurona.com, and you can check out my Patreon at Jesse D Comics. No pressure or anything. All one of you.
And Randall?
I am Randall. I like meat. I like potatoes. Let's get this thing going.
Okay, then.
Total professional. I knew I could count on you, buddy.
And if you're curious who I am and what I do, go watch a previous episode. We got 3 of them.
Don't worry, I'm actually cutting and pasting links, so you basically find any of the things that the people on this episode are doing by following the links, which I'm just about to update and save, so you can find it in the section that's below us down there. I'm Greg Giordano. I've been doing art and comics and other 2D stuff and video and a bunch of things since 1984. And currently still working on a graphic novel with a co-creator and writer called Holiday Mountain Madness, which is a weird Western story with monsters and magic and all kinds of gunplay and everything like that. I'm also working on a collating past work into a retrospective. It's not a graphic novel, I guess. It'd be more like a portfolio book or something, but it's basically a lot of one-page comics and other stuff I've been doing over the years. So, and you can find me at flameape.org and other links that you'll see down below. So, guys, what are you doing? What do you want to talk about? What do you got to show? Etc. Etc.
Excuse me. So, I have something I can show, but it might take me a minute to figure out how to get it on the screen.
You want to tell us what it is?
Yeah. It's one of my pages that I'm working on for the comic. It's basically I'm having an issue with one of the panels and the orientation of it, and it's driving me nuts. So I will share that. But if anyone else wants to go before me, it might take me a second to figure this out, but hopefully not too long. But actually, there's a couple of different ways. But yeah, go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I was just saying that this particular thing, there's a couple of questions that I have about it, actually. But yeah, for now, do the thing here.
Randall, what about you?
I don't really have anything to show this week. It's like the last crazy week at work, so I'm expecting I'll have finally some stuff compiled this weekend and ready to go for next week's crit group. But as of now, I'm still buried under Dartmouth thesis work and other various sundriest things to be able to work on comics.
Oh, are you
Black Friday for printers?
Are you doing grad school or something, or?
No, this is printing undergraduate honors thesis for about, I don't know, 120 to 150 Dartmouth honors students, all in like 6 weeks. And graduation is this weekend, and this is the week where the kids come in and go, so, like, can I print my thesis before, you know, graduation? That's a thing. Meaning Randall works long hours at the print shop. So
I used to have friends who worked at Kinko's back in the day, and with up here it's St. Mike's, UVM, Champlain, and at the time Trinity, because Trinity was its own school and it was a women's college. So they had that whole thing. So there were 4 colleges that, and then and Community College of Vermont. So 5 colleges would suddenly go bam, you know, with end of the semester. Yeah.
Yeah. So next week.
Yeah. Do you ever sleep at the print shop?
we make jokes about putting a bunk bed or a cot behind the Nuvera 144 all the time. It's our giant mainframe that like stretches across half the shop. And
right.
It'd be nice and toasty back there in the winter, but pretty loud. Don't know how much sleep you'd actually get.
Because I knew people who worked at Kinko's when it was still Kinko's and not what is it, FedEx
office or whatever they call it.
Yeah, and they did actually. They would have cots. They would have inflatable beds and stuff, and there was like a whole thing going on. Yeah, because I mean it was really that swamped. It actually was pointless to go home and go to bed. because of the just huge amount of activity. So I could totally imagine what you guys go through during that week.
Kinko's sounds like a very naughty cereal.
Well, it was kind of a naughty cereal back then.
Okay, I am ready if you guys are.
Oh, good. So we managed to totally vamp ourselves straight into your stuff.
Beautiful.
Hooray for filler.
Yeah, well, that's what vamping's for.
You talking about like robot smoke? Oh no, that's vaping.
Oh.
I'm on fire today, folks. All right, let's see.
You got that?
So, can you guys see that entire thing, the 2 rows of panels?
Yes.
Okay, so this is kind of a pseudo continuation of a joke that I had beforehand, but it kind of stands on its own, where the character just runs into the fight essentially of the Jack in the Box stealing the top of Crunch's head. That first panel, I can't figure out how I want it to be oriented. Like at first I had it like on like a parallel angle. I had it very flat. I had it weirdly obscure, and I don't really know how the perspective would work, and it's just not looking like anything at the moment. The other 3 I think are okay, but that first one just, I don't know, there's something about it that bugs me. Setting the stage,
Actually, I'm going to click on yours. So
Hi, Barney.
How you doing?
Look, it's Barney.
Good. How are you?
Good.
Good to see you, man. I'm going to click on Jesse so that it doesn't get interrupted by other people talk. Like it doesn't, so it stays
Jump back and forth.
Sounds good.
So
Okay, I'm not seeing anything for some reason.
You don't see anything.
I'm seeing black.
You're seeing black. Okay, because I know we aren't.
That's dark, man.
Let me just try something. I'm gonna click on Randall, click on Barney, click on me, Jack. Now click on Jesse. What about now? Can you see okay?
Well, I'm wondering if it's something on my end, because Randall said you see what Jesse has up.
Yeah, I see it too.
I do.
Interesting.
Lots of feedback. Is everybody on a headset microphone?
I am on earbuds with a microphone.
Something in your ears with the microphone though, so that your microphone is not hearing your speakers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Correct.
Because that sounded like some feedback. Okay, so there are a couple of ways to fix this, Jack. One of them would be just click on Jesse's square at the bottom of the Hangout. See if that, first of all, will give you,
Yeah, I still don't have anything.
Bill Blackfield. Okay, so the only other thing I know that will often fix this problem is if you were to actually refresh the whole page. So if you click,
Okay.
and I would say, click in the URL line so that's highlighted, and then hit F5.
Okay.
You'll log in, and then you'll log immediately back in, or you log out and then you'll log back in. You'll just be back in the call.
Great. Cool.
See you in a sec.
Yep.
Bye.
Haha! I lied. He's dead.
You
It's all
jerk.
part of a master plan.
The power. I'm telling you, it goes right to your head. And he's back. Are you here?
Yeah, I see Jesse's icon. Oh, yep, there we go.
You guys
Thank
are?
you. Yep.
Hooray.
Awesome. Hooray. Okay, so plus I've highlighted it, so it should be for everybody overriding everybody's camera and stuff, so it should be just him. So can you just say one more time briefly the thing that you're feeling kind of weird about the page?
So it's that first panel. So I have to take my thing out of my ear every time because it's weird hearing me kind of muted.
You sounded a little lower than usual, but
Am I?
a little bit.
Oh, hang on.
But not like Barry White, though.
Like a little remote and muffly.
My first, my last, my everything.
There we go.
Everything sounds good to me.
All right. Yeah, I put a little microphone on my on my collar.
I know what's going on. I don't have
Ah.
you. I don't. I'm not in my headset. I'm listening to you with my speakers. There we go. I was totally wrong. I was so wrong. Okay,
Well,
so what's going on there, man?
Okay, so that first panel to me, there's something weird about it. Like I'm still trying to. So underneath the two smaller characters, there's supposed to be other text. I forgot to not unhide that before I shared this image, but so there's supposed to be dialogue underneath them as well, coming from the Jack in the Box. But there's just something about the orientation of it, and something about the view and the perspective. I wish I could put my finger on exactly what it is that's bugging me. I just can't seem to get this one kind of the way I want it.
Right. Well, I could tell you that, like, the line, what I think you're sort of noticing is that there's something off between the line that the bear is on and the plane that or I should say the plane that the bear is on is not the same plane that the other characters are on in the distance. And doing a perspective grid check on it would probably reveal where it's off. But that's my first guess.
Even when I try to do that, even when I like have a respective grid on my on the app that I use for drawing these, I still am enough of a dummy that when I try to map it out, I still can't quite figure out what I'm doing.
Right. Well, I mean, I would say, like,
dragon I can't slay for some reason.
Right. Well, you don't have to labor on it too much. I mean, I would just say that, like, most likely, like, to me anyway, and Randall should pipe in, or whomever has done, you know, can back me up with perspective a little more, is, to me, it looks just like the bear needs to go up, period, or they need to go down. But I would also say that,
well, while we're on just the perspective bit, the Crunch with his missing head, he's kind of tilted in. He's got that circle. You can see the top of him. You can also see, like, the bottom of the little circle on his foot. But the Jack in the Box guy is perfectly flat. There's no indication of, like, the top of the box where he's springing out or any sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like, he's also over Crunch. So you'd think, like, we'd see, like, under his, you know, shirt thing where the spring is going up inside him, like,
or the opposite. I mean,
or the opposite.
If we're seeing down, if we're seeing essentially down the Crunch's throat, right? Crunch is the guy in the middle for people that aren't familiar with the characters. If we're seeing down his throat like a stovepipe, then we should be seeing down the box where the spring goes into the box.
Yeah.
But here's the thing.
Oh, yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah. But that's if you are following perspective rules, because you're not.
Which I would like to be.
Well, but here's the thing. I think this might be a situation where you have early in the game an ability to make some decisions, because at the bottom two panels you're not following perspective rules, right? So, and that is a common thing that happens in a lot of gag cartoons. Not all strips or even comics. Once you start getting into a more funnier and funnier look, a lot of those rules kind of start to get, like, some things are on a flat plane and really, like, they don't exist in the same spaces that we do. So I think one of the issues could be alleviated by, you know, reconsidering what the rules are for your world. Is your world characters that are like color forms or something that just stick flat onto a plane that has the trappings of the details of things, but doesn't necessarily follow perspective in the sense of, like, you know, we see things flat on? Or is it a world that is very cartoony, but still, like any animated cartoon, has perspective, has space, has you know, like above and has below? And I think the more you sort of come to the conclusions about what that is, the more it'll tell you how to maybe fix things like this that are a little funky.
So I would just like to throw in real quick that you're definitely giving me way too much credit when you're like, oh, you're not following perspective rules. It's like I don't know how.
No, I'm not saying that you do.
Yeah, I'm not trying to go for some kind of like surreal thing. I would like them to actually like be in an environment that seems, you know, real. If plain at times, if you know what I mean. But like,
can you repeat the last part? Do you want it to seem like what?
I do want them to seem like they're actually living in a world.
In a space. Yeah, no. I wasn't necessarily saying that you were being clever or not being clever. I'm just saying that, like, because there are two different things happening, the panels at the bottom exist on essentially a super flat plane, right? Effectively a one-dimensional plane that has no depth. And the top panels are existing in a more conventional three-dimensional space, it seems to me. I think one of the things that could happen is like you could, if it was me, I might even consider on a bigger level to say, well, what is the boilerplate kind of look that I want consistently through the book, and then based upon that, you can figure out where to fix things and where to massage things, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so those are, it's almost like, for me, it's like half of the answer to your question is backing up and sort of saying, well, which of these two looks is actually the look? And then getting into the nitty gritty of like detail stuff about how to fix any given panel, right? But I don't mean you have to answer that question right now. I'm just saying, like, I think that would be kind of an interesting thing for you to explore in your own time, you know, like as you sort of explore the strips more.
So, question for you, Greg. This is kind of on the same topic. So is there any examples of where there has been some cartoonists that have been successful in doing both? Because I'm just thinking, like, when you talk about like the flat plane, like that's a good like example of like Peanuts or
Crazy Cat or
Crazy, like
Popeye, especially the old days of Popeye. Yeah, exactly. And then there's strips that, you know, that go into space, like I know I'm dating myself, but like High and Lois or Funky Winker Bean or whatever, where there is above, there is a below, there is the three dimension,
like some of them like that you read there that kind of have that kind of play off of what you're talking about, where like there's like a sense of depth and perspective and universe to it.
I don't know. I mean, the only one that comes off the top of my head is probably Little Nemo and Slumberland, because Winsor McCay did a lot of pure, like, super straight, flat-on imagery, like when the kid would be in the bed. But then, as he would dream, everything exploded into depth with massive cities and massive amounts of detail everywhere. And then when he woke up, it would always be completely flat, and he'd be on the floor saying, "Oh."
Like,
you know,
Bill
that was right. Yeah. Sure, a little bit. Yeah. But because, well, anyway, just to get back to Jesse's page a little bit, I mean, this is all for me. This is like my opinions. This has nothing to do with what I think is concretely true, right? Because I like both things that are happening. To me, Jesse, like I like what you're doing in terms of depth and the figure having three dimensions, and I like when things get flat, because the characters work either way. I don't know about, like, I mean, you could make you could talk on and on about commercial viability and making sure that things look the same and all that stuff. But I mean, really, you got to just do what works. You got to, like, how much redrawing is a person really going to do and make themselves insane? You know, I think having 50 or 100 strips is way more important than 3 strips that are, exemplary work, right? So I mean, it's just like I would say, like, I would bring up the bear. I might bring the 2 characters down, because I think then because the basic rule for perspective is that everything's on the same eye level. That's or you pick a level, waist, eye, crotch, whatever, it doesn't matter. And then that's the sort of blunt tool 1-point perspective rule that all the characters, like, if you put a line through them, they'll probably all meet somewhere above or below that, whatever that is. And you know, if the perspective is seeing the ground, they'll tend to match up at the clavicle or the eyes or the whatever. And if it's a low eye view, then they'll tend to match somewhere at the knees or the whatever, right? Yeah, that's a way to quick and dirty sort of attempt to fix it and see if it works, right? But I think Randall's points about the box and stuff are important if you're going to be consistent to the rest of the things in the picture, right?
Yeah, that's all I would say too. Is bring those two characters down, give the box a little. Since we're up kind of above the teddy bear and looking a little down, if you bring those two down, flatten out the foot a little bit. We won't see the underside of the foot probably so much, but definitely give some us a view into that box, and I think that will mostly solve it. I mean,
being able to see a bit of the top of it, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. And I did just fix that with the two bottom ones as well because I didn't realize that they were still flat. I thought I had actually changed that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, even a simple thing like that will carry over from panel to panel. So whether you're doing like a depth sort of thing like you are on the first one, and then the next two, like Rick said, are on this flat plane, still having a little depth with the characters and their box and where you're viewing them, that will help tie all the panels together, even though you're taking a slightly different approach of how you're presenting the background or the world or the space, I guess, that they're existing in. They can still be very three-dimensional-ish, I guess, for cartoons.
It's a lot of a consistency thing, and the way I see it, it's like, if things are obeying certain rules in this panel, then all things have to obey that rule in that panel, at the very least.
Right.
If it's the situation where things are changing up through the page, I think the ideal circumstance, though, is probably to have one set of rules throughout the whole story, or even the series or the book, right? So that things don't throw the reader off. But barring that, I think that at the very least, like if there's a certain rule of how things are operating in space on one panel, all things should probably have similar, should be similarly affected.
What about I was just thinking, what would it be like to have like a theme where I'm thinking like a vaudevillian type thing, because it is kind of like a comic strip, is have your perspective in the panels, but then have it flat like the punchline on the last panel. I'm just curious. I mean, I was just kind of thinking out loud.
I'm not sure what you mean. You're a little garbled too.
Oh, am I? No.
Yeah, it's a little choppy.
Okay. Can you guys hear me better now?
I think there may be a slight short or in your.
Let me check to see if my mic. Let me see which mic on. No, I got my Yeti on. Okay.
Just crackling up a little bit. That's all.
I was just saying. I was wondering what it would be like to have, just thinking out loud, that play with the perspective on all the frames except then like the last frame, having it the flat panel like you have on this one. Almost, I'm just thinking like the vaudevillian. I don't know if that would be a kind of an interesting theme where you have all kinds of perspective and all that stuff, but then just do the flat panel at the end when the punchline happens.
I changed it very slightly. Oh nope, that's not the one. God damn it.
Too many versions.
Yeah. No, it really is true.
It's the basic way to just not have to worry about versions is make an old folder in your folder with your current project, and as soon as you've made a new version, start dumping those old ones in there, drag them in there.
Yeah, I remember
you don't have to get rid of them, but just get them out of your field of vision so that Okay, so you got the box a little. Yeah, so like the box. I mean, I know you're gonna want to kill me, but you've changed the perspective on the middle character's head. Now it's in conflict with the perspective of the box. So, like, in other words, you see what I mean? Yeah. So
yeah, I do.
Bring back your old head on him, and then you'll be okay.
You can bring back my old head. Word.
Right. Yes. The only other thing in that panel that's a little funky is that I forgot what's his name again, the middle guy.
Oh, Crunch.
Crunch's head is a little too attached to the Jack in the Box guy. It's almost like he's listening to his head, like he's listening to a shell from the beach. And I think it would be good to like bring it away from his head a little bit. Just pivot the head, the arm back, like
bring it down a little bit, like he's holding it away, not up.
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
just a little bit, just so it's off his head and kind of like because it gets a little too visually like kludged together and it becomes its own one big sort of complex shape that I think it's throwing me off a little bit.
Yeah, that was bothering me as well. I just wasn't quite sure how to fix it because I thought I had skewed it a little bit too much after a while.
No, there's plenty of room between the panel border and where he is. And you could even bring that character over to the left a little bit if you needed some room to accommodate that.
What about that? Does it look like that in the second panel? Should I extend it a little bit then too?
Yeah, because it's like it's really close and it's almost like Chunk is eating his head, which could be funny. I mean, like
that was actually my original idea for the joke, but I went a different direction clearly.
Because one idea could be like if it's that close, there could be saliva dripping down the side of the Jack in the Box guy's head. Because even though he's got the top of his head, and he's kind of got an advantage on him, the top of the head is still kind of like chewing on him and stuff and slobbering on him or something. I mean, that'd be kind of funny. It would be weird, But I think it'd be better just to move it away.
Yeah, I agree. It'd be a little too noisy visually, which is not really my style.
I think with cartoons like this, things need to have spaces between each of them. And I think that might be less influenced by actual cartooning and more influenced by animated cartoons, where characters always tend to have some level of space between them because it's very, very difficult in cheap TV animation, let's say, to have overlapping characters. So, and that's where a lot of that comes from. Like when you look at old Hanna-Barbera cartoons or any cheap cartoons that were done, on the fast side, the reason why the characters all have gaps between them and don't touch each other much or bump or slide past each other is because it just makes it faster if they're all doing that kind of it's actually like what Barney was saying, like when they're in that vaudeville stage kind of staging where it's like a character and then there's a character and then there's a character, like Marx, like another great example of that. If you've seen Marx Brothers movies, Marx Brothers movies are typical. There's a typical staging where it's like, here's one Marx brother, here's another Marx brother, and here's Margaret Dumont, and then there's a crowd behind them, but the crowd is never anything but window dressing. They're like furniture. Yeah. But the individual characters, as they joke with each other, are always like this. And that kind of vaudeville staging then later became very big and is still used with like sitcoms, right?
Yeah.
But it carried over into TV and cheapo animation because, again, to do this with characters takes way more time than you have time or money for. So the Quick Draw McGraw's here, Baba Louie's here, and it's just like they never break that barrier between them because of that. And I think because of that trope that's so ingrained, I think it makes some of the stuff, like, to me, that's why I would fix a few of those things, because it's sort of like it sort of jogs that a little bit, and for me it makes me a little it's sort of weird. But one thing I will say, like, I really like is this. I wish I had a pointer inside of the thing, because it's the second panel has really interesting movement, and you can almost feel like that Crunch reached for the head and the other guy yanked it away, and it's like a freeze frame of emotion. And I really like it. The gesture of the curve of that, like, Jack in the Box guy is so lurching backward and upward, and it's very fluid, and the moving forward and reaching forward and upward of the bear is in line with it, and it's kind of nice. It almost looks like a freeze frame from a cartoon or something,
That makes me really happy to hear, because that's something I've been trying to incorporate into my work for quite a while.
Yeah, and I mean it's good. It's I think if the body of Crunch was like an inverted bean, and it was sloping inwards and back on the back end of him, and if the front was sloping to the left and down, I think it would help to even more reinforce that. You know. And it would be easy to do, you know, just like curve it and move it back. Not move it back, but curve it and get that line going, pointing towards the back a little more. The other thing is the Jack in the Box on the panel 2, his head shape is very different from his usual head shape. And if you use like panel 4 as a guide or panel 1 as a guide and look between those two and look at the one in panel 2, you can see that you've got a little more of an egg head than the other two.
Oh, yeah, I see that. Okay.
Whereas the other heads are more of a squat circle, like a squished, you know.
Yeah, I see that.
See what I mean?
Yep.
I'll be right back, guys. I just gotta read a bedtime story.
Okay, enjoy.
Not to myself, to my kid.
Yeah.
Hey, man, you do you.
Yeah. Anybody else got anything to say?
Jack, what about you?
Not
to put you on the spot, but
yeah. I mean, the initial thing that got to me, but I'm not sure if it would be as much of an issue when it's all like colored and stuff, is how you made the panels, like the verticals specifically, like the gaps in the between the two panels, like they're so close together. I almost want them to line up or be more varied. If that makes sense.
I'm not sure I know what you mean. You mean the dividers in between the panels?
Yeah, like
gutter
the
space
gap
between panels.
Yeah, like the line that is made between the gap of the first and second panel, and the vertical gap in between the third and the fourth panel. Does that
So you
make
think
sense?
moving one of them over slightly,
Right, like
so that they're not so
I don't
close?
know. Maybe again, it may just be an opinion thing, but like I almost either want to like line them up, or I want to like give more space.
Yeah.
I understand that.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. It also would, yeah, it is a little odd, but I think my guess is it because the characters in panel 1, when you were just doing it, it just ended up having so much room, and then you had only so much room for panel 2, given the format of each page being the same. Would that be accurate, or?
I don't know.
Because one thing you could do is you could bring the characters together on panel 1 and just shrink the bear a little bit and move everything over. I think for me, I would like it better if the panel gutters were completely in line with each other. Because I don't see the necessary need for the first panel to have so much more or that much more space than the second panel. Like because of what you're doing in 3 and 4, it's very clear that you can fit all the action or close and long shot as you need.
Yeah, but I kind of I don't want them. I don't want so many of them to be like a very similar size on the panel. I like the variation in the size of the characters as well.
Yeah. Well, then I think I'm probably in line with Jack a little bit. I don't know where Randall's on this, but I wouldn't mind seeing the second gutter, vertical gutter, moved over a few, like 2 or 3 more clicks.
Yeah.
To the left.
Yeah. So like make that third panel a little shorter.
That could work because you do have a lot of that dead space behind the bear where there's not much going on. Yeah, either increase the offset or make them centered, because right now they're way too close.
Yeah, it actually is an antagonistic sort of thing to the eye, rather than it having pattern that you know what I mean, like that is more, because the brain wants, neurologically even, the brain wants patterns. We're as humans, we want patterns, and I think that it's.
And besides that third panel is kind of vertically oriented anyway with the action, because the hand is thrusting upwards, like out of
Yeah.
Crunch's body or whatever. And
Yeah.
you don't need it to be so wide because you want people to kind of be like constrained to that action to make it really have an impact. And like I said, all that dead space behind the bear is kind of taking away from that. So I think you'll not only increase the power of that panel and the hand coming out, but you'll solve your problem with the eye distraction of those gutters not lining up perfectly. So
Damn gutters.
it'll look more purposeful, I guess.
I could see that.
Yeah. And to give yourself a little more
I
breathing
think
room
the
in
front
that
panel
last
could
panel.
use more of the space as well, because then it'll give more of that kind of like awkward pause feeling.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and does anyone else have any concerns about like visually at the moment? Because that's a perfect lead into my other question, unless someone has something else.
I don't personally, no.
Nope.
Yeah, I was wondering what the hell that the last line should be, or like what they should be saying at the end. Because I've gone through a couple of different iterations, and I'm just having trouble
Well, what are
figuring
they?
out exactly what.
What are they? Can you turn on and off the text layers?
Not from this. This was just an exported PNG.
Oh, okay. You don't have
Because
to like the file on there. All right. Well,
Yeah.
then you can tell it. Then you can tell us the lines. It's easier if we can see them. But yeah.
Yeah, like the one that I like the most is like Crunch is shoving in the thing back into his head, and he's just like, that happens to Crunch sometimes. And both of them say noted at the exact same time. Like there's one word balloon with two tails.
Right. Right.
And like
It's Crunch that talks about himself in the third person.
yes,
Okay.
that's his deal.
Okay.
And then
I don't know
another
if that
one.
makes sense, though.
What?
I don't know if that would the noted would, because it seems to me that the bear already knows, which is why he's telling Jack in the Box give him back his head before something bad happens. So why would the bear be like, oh, I didn't know about that?
Well, the comic before it, he's actually breaking up a fight between the other two characters because one of them steals the other's ribbons. So I've already established that he is essentially the problem solver of the group. So I was kind of hoping, like, that didn't occur to me, but I was hoping that the idea is that he's the one that stops, like, Jack, give him back his head, like he's just the one that's kind of in charge of that stuff.
He doesn't have any detailed knowledge. He's just always like the one telling people to stop.
He's just a nice guy. He wants everyone to get along.
More or less.
So what are the other punchlines?
Well, like another one would be like, Jack says like, I'm just gonna give this back now, and then the bear says like, please do, or something. Or like, what's the rush, big guy? And then the hand comes out, and he's just like, world-ending demon comes out, and he's like, okay, good to know. But I don't know how much I want to explain what the hell's going on either, because I kind of like the idea that it's just like giant hand comes out, and it's just like, okay.
Okay, so here's a couple of things. And I definitely see scales on that arm, so it's not a regular human arm. But I think in order to imply that it's a rather apocalyptic situation, I think that hand needs to have giant claws. I actually think it would be great if there was a giant plume of smoke and fire ejecting out of his neck. And when you color it, I would basically change the entire color of the room to like black with like reds everywhere, as though like giant red light was on them, like really extreme lighting, big black silhouettes on their opposing sides. So in other words, like everything really radically changes, but like big demon hand rather than just human hand. And I would add some line to "At last I'm free," something along the lines of like, "At last I am free," and now the apocalypse shall commence. Right?
Yeah, that I
I'm free to destroy the world.
Exactly.
I actually did have something similar to that originally, where it was like, "At last I'm free to destroy those who dare dwell in this domain."
Yeah, I think that's a little long. I think it'd
Yeah.
be better if it's just blunt and just like something like the apocalypse will start or something, because it's a little bigger and even worse, you know.
Yeah.
And then because if you do that, all of that, then it's easier to write your punchline. The punchline could be some, and I think actually the punchline might be like,
Apocalypse, wait for no one, shove.
right? Yeah, sure, right. Well, that's true. I mean, what Crunch says could be maybe like, you know, like no apocalypse, not, or you know, whatever it is, you know. But I think
we are canceling the apocalypse.
right, but I think might be kind of what might be better might be a punchline like the clown goes like, "Oh well, I'll just give you back your head then," and then the bear is like, "I think that's a super idea." Like,
yeah,
you know,
that was
yeah.
pretty much the original writing. Was like,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna give this back now. Like, yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, good plan, or just like good plan.
Yeah.
Well, here you go. Here's your. Well, actually, you know what might be even good is like, well, here you go. Here's your head, and then the bear goes like, good idea. Like, you know, just leave it at that. Because actually, Chunk doesn't even need to say anything. Because what's funnier,
he's busy shoving a giant,
he's busy putting the thing back
going hand back into his stuffed body.
Yeah.
I think if you let the hand and the event, excuse me, if the event of the hand and how dangerous it is do all the talking, then it makes it funnier if only the Jack in the Box and the bear do the punchline at the end.
Mm-hmm.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Plus, it helps to reinforce the fact that Chunk is not really, he's not a super talker. He's not really about, you know, like it's like he's kind of simple-minded. So the only thing he'd care about would be to shove the hand back in and put his head back on. You know what I mean?
Right.
So take dialogue away from him so that it's a nicer, tighter punchline.
I was also thinking like you can see kind of like these little shapes glooping off the sides. I was thinking there'd be like some kind of ash that would be covering Jack and Dr. P in that last panel, so like it just like a bunch of stuff landed on them in the interim.
What I might suggest is like those could be bursts of fire, and like the clown's hair could have a tiny little fire on it, and the bear could have a tiny little fire on him with some smoke coming off of it. You know, like little lit match kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So basically, like, you know, then you could have the clown with like a hashed out nose, like it's, you know, kind of
like singed,
like a match, yeah. So they just basically they realize they just like escaped utter destruction.
Yeah. Yeah, like maybe like a hatched out nose and then like a little flame on Dr. P's ear.
Right. And then a few spots on the carpet are on fire, you know. Because the simpler you make it, the better, I think, in terms of how funny it is. I think the more
I agree.
the less you say also, yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Kind of jumping off that, I'm even more extreme than that. I can see the whole bottom section like completely like wordless actually. Like if you just have the like dramatic hand thing and then just like him grabbing the head and stuffing it back in without them saying anything. They're just like shell shocked.
Right.
Like
They
I
close
think
their
that could be
mouths
just
instead.
impactful enough. The other thing is the head's in the clown's left hand, but on the fourth panel you have him holding out his right hand.
Oh yeah.
Right. So when he tosses it or whatever's happening.
I mean, I'm not sure if you meant for him to switch hands, but
No, it's a blocking thing. It's like a theater thing. I didn't want the arm crossing over himself.
Right. So I don't know if you want to change the other hands then. I don't.
Can't really do that because you can't really see it.
Well, the other thing too is that, you know, there's another way to fix it. Just drop the hand, because you're not showing him handing it off. So why not just have his hands to the sides? Right?
No, that too.
I mean,
what
unless he ends up saying like, "I'm just going to give this back to you now."
Well, I mean, you know, because the thing is, what's not seen and what doesn't need to be seen is that there's the you know the whole theory about panels between the panels, right?
Right.
So the panel that's between these two panels is the one where the doctor hands off or tosses him back his head. So we don't need. We know that he has it in his hand now.
Yeah.
We know that he got it back.
Or Crunch just like swipes it from him when he's not paying attention or whatever.
I mean, whatever that action is, it's happened in between, and we don't really even need to know, right? Because that's a different story.
But if he's going to say, I'm just going to give this back to you, then we probably need that motion to be happening. Maybe if he said something like, I don't know, like, sorry, Crunch.
There you go, big guy. Like,
oh, that's true. Yeah, I guess that's true.
You could change the wording a little bit so it's not so much, here you go, but more of a, hey, happy now.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, actually, now I'm going back on it. I'm going to go with Randall, and I would say, of all, like, I don't think I would worry about it too much.
Yeah.
Maybe it
didn't bother me. I was just like, oh, there must have been a hand transfer at some point, whatever.
Right. But I think that Jack is right to point it out, because if you were doing something that was less hijinks oriented, and it was more meditative or thoughtful, it could actually be kind of distracting. But I think that because things happen to be pretty hijinks oriented, it's you don't think about which hand. But in truth, I mean, Jack is correct, right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, you really would need to be the left hand that would be up and the right hand down on the side.
Right.
So,
and I agree. Maybe I think I'll just put the hand down and figure out wording that makes it so like the handoff already happened.
I guess I wouldn't necessarily rewrite your dialogue if it's really funny, for the sake of a hand. I would, because that to me would feel a little like the dog wagging or the tail wagging the dog a little bit.
But
it's obviously it's up to you. I mean,
Yeah, but I mean, you know what I mean, right? It's like if he's saying, I'm just going to give this back, he has to be giving it back. It can't have already happened. I mean, it could even be like, sorry, buddy, it won't happen again. I don't know.
I think that would blow the joke that we were talking about. But if you write a whole new kind of punchline, then sure. Yeah.
God damn it! Now it's being overlabored at this point, I think.
Mm-hmm. And that's why sometimes it's a good idea to throw everything away. And then I don't mean the art. I mean just like throw away all your punchline stuff and start and then do something else that maybe is fresh. But I think the ones that we're talking about are good. I think you can definitely get away with the right hand. I don't think it's going to kill anything. I think it'll be fine. But it's up to you.
Okay.
And my head, by the way, does look like it's ready to be cut off of my shoulders and put in a pot of boiling water to make a stew, because it's apparently as wide as my monitor.
What did I miss? Did I miss something?
No, I'm saying my head. My head looks like you could just cut it off and make a pot of soup out of it or something. That's like giant head. Jesus. My head is bigger than your cartoon. Like it looks like I'm going to eat everything in sight. No, I think I would, if you love a certain punchline, and the choice is between like moving the hand. But the other thing is, if you use the left hand instead, I don't think it's going to be kooky. Like, it'll be fine.
I mean, I'm just gonna switch it to the other hand and have him crossing his body. Big deal.
I would just do. Yeah, the only thing to make sure to do though is like to avoid a parallelism where like the tip of the hand is right at the line of the body, is make sure it sufficiently overlaps, even though it might end up being a little longer than in a little off model. I would just like make sure that the hand extends off the edge of the body, right?
Yeah, I mean, the fun thing about Jack is that he's very stretchy and squishy, and since he can change his face, he's very different from comic to comic usually.
But either way, I'm just saying, just so that doesn't occur.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, other than that, though, I mean, it's certainly a better joke when the joke is designed by committee, as you can imagine.
Oh yeah, of course.
All humor by committee is much better.
It is always better when the studio gets involved. Always better.
Spider-Man 3 was a perfect example of that.
So, all right, I don't want to go off on this, but I fucking love that movie, and I used to hate it so much, but I watched it again a couple of years ago, and I could go off forever about it, but I have such a newfound love for that one. I actually like it better than the first two now. But anyway, let's move on. But
Yeah,
I do.
I'll let you.
Point, though.
I'll let you have all that love on my behalf.
That's fair. That's fair.
I feel better that you love it for me than me actually being forced to love it.
I will say though, Tom Hardy as Venom. I'm very excited for that. If that is true.
If that is true, yes. And that will be enough of that.
Yes. All right. So I think I am good, fellas. Thank you so much.
Hooray.
I think from here I can piece this bad boy back together, and I think I have got it now. So thank you very much. That was very, very helpful.
Yeah. Good job, everybody, with taking that on.
All right. By the way, I would like to throw out real quick that I'm so happy that we're doing this, not to get like super sappy, but this is exactly what I wanted. We're giving some serious tough love to everybody here, and I think that's really useful. So,
well, you know, I always feel a little more loved when there's a bruise involved. You know,
Randall's face.
That's rough. That's right. That's rough. It's cold, man. It's cold. It's cold.
Real up in here.
Did you feel the temperature go down in the room, by the way?
Not just because the windows are all open.
It's like ice. Like
Was it Kiss with a Fist? You know that song?
No. I do not.
It's amazing.
By the
All
way, I just wanted to say, yeah, for me too. It's always good to participate. I don't always have stuff to show, but
Yeah.
it's always good to flex my brain about something outside of my own stuff. And by the way, if nobody has anything to, I mean, normally this is hosted by Jesse, so you know he would have his own agenda for how he wanted to make things flow. But one thing I thought about was that if nobody has anything to show tonight, you know, we can either choose to make it really short, or we could actually just say, you know, because I have a couple of topics, general topics that affect everybody, that have to do with, you know, doing your work. And I have a couple of ideas. So that's another thing we could do. If nobody has anything to show, we could certainly roundtable a couple of discussions. So.
If I had, I wanted to kind of get some feedback from you guys. I'm trying to find a new font for my my 2 years comic.
You mean for a lettering?
Not the lettering, but I got the logo font.
So do you have some logo treatments to show us?
No, I would just I don't have anything yet. Maybe I can do it for next week. I don't have anything prepared. I just wanted to what are you working in, Photoshop or what? Yeah, Photoshop right now.
All right. Well, why don't you just open up Photoshop and make a 8.5 by 11 file, and well, you know, let's just, you know, you could just type out the name of the book and copy the text layers and make each one of the different fonts that you're thinking about using, so we could actually, because context is everything. You could show us a ton of fonts, it wouldn't really mean much, because unless they're in the name of the thing and we know what the book's about, then it doesn't, it's harder to help. So
let me get something ready for I'll because that gives me something to do for, I'll get that up for next week. I can do that.
And if you change your mind, you can just tell me what the fonts are. If you need me to do it, I could do it and show my desktop. And either way.
Guys, I will be back in just 1 second, okay?
Okay.
That's going to be kind of the challenge I'm facing too when we get to my crit stuff, is that I have a lot of material that kind of will need to be looked at ahead of time, and people, homework basically before we can actually come together. Because instead of like a single page, I'm hoping to have like an entire chapter of stuff, and that means it's going to be a bit of a time investment before, during, and probably even after crit. But once I get a few things on, a few of those under my belt, then it'll just be like, okay, here's the, and I get back to actually doing pages a week, then I'll be like, oh, here's my next page, and you already have in the background. But getting started on mine is going to be a bit of an undertaking. That's why I keep like saying not yet, because I want to make sure I get it all together, in a nice, concise package before we tackle it, because I don't want people to be, completely lost.
Is part of the reason for that because of that you have a big undertaking to redo pages and etc.?
Not so much redo, not so much on the actual redos, just, I want people to be familiar with what I've done already and to read it and to understand it, so that way they understand the changes and why I'm making those specific changes. But also, so when I start doing new stuff, and I'm on, I move forward instead of continuing to stall, back here at the beginning, everyone will be just caught up and we can just keep going. And nobody will have to be like, oh, wait, I need to go back and reread the whole thing. Granted, if, we get new people coming in, obviously they'll have to get caught up. But it'd be nice to have a core base of people who are here regularly, who know what the deal is, that can, just jump on and go.
Yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying. I would say that I mean, for me personally, I can always get context pretty quickly. By the way, Jean is here.
Hi.
Hey, Jean.
Sorry, my
Hey.
dog is trying to sit in my lap.
Right on. Sorry, well, you deal with that wrestling match, and we'll keep going. And
Yeah, I'm
when
just
you're ready,
listening.
yeah. But I mean, honestly, Randall, I mean, context is usually possible rapidly. I mean, obviously, we don't all read Jesse's strip, for instance, or all of us haven't read Jack's book. I mean, I would just, like say, as soon as you have stuff that's coming through the pipe, even if you want to talk about like how you might change old pages or whatever, I would feel free to do that even without an enormous amount of context, because it doesn't take long to sort of parse out what's going on a page, and then likewise, see the differences that you make later or whatever the situation happens to be. I think we're okay with that. So don't put forward till it's perfectly set up before we see stuff. I mean, I think it would be interesting to see your process anyway. So
Okay.
I'm
starting with chapter 1, so we're starting simple. Just here's the chapter I've done.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the 6 pages of content, and let's crit that content, and does it make a difference?
And is this a new story in the old world, a whole new world, a whole new story, or is it making new art for the old script?
It's new. It's a new scene, let's say, to start the story off. I feel like I started it off so many different ways, but none of them have really hit the tone that I want to set. And I feel like I finally, after much trial and error, arrived at that scene that will kind of kick things off in the right way. And I just want to see if putting it where I want to put it works. And if it does, great. I'm done with that forever. I can move on to doing chapter 4.
Sorry, I just got a message. Hold on just a moment. By the way, Gene, why don't you...
I am back, by the way.
Hey,
Gene.
Good to see you. So Jesse, Gene is here. Gene, you want to just quickly go over what you're doing and why you're kind of part of the group and what you're...
I'm
where you're at with things.
Super duper beginner, just trying my first fingers at a few items here and there, mostly practicing my inking and working on a couple of concepts that I have, and just starting to try to my first time ever trying to build a character or two or a group of characters and a storyline, and just to see where that takes me. I'm really very beginner stage.
Yeah.
Did that answer your question?
Absolutely. Well, we have one person watching, so we know that there's somebody who doesn't potentially know anything about where we're doing. So we can what we're doing. Yeah, 1 viewer. This is great. You can only go up from here.
I'm glad I wore a shirt, you know.
Well, that's probably in all of our cases. It's really not that kind of podcast.
Okay, good.
No, I mean those are out there.
They're out
Certainly find them.
Although I think, Randall, those tend to be more on places like Picardo or Twitch, right, or something, right?
Well, maybe not Twitch, although
I don't even never even heard of them. I don't even know what this is. So.
It's Google Hangouts.
Oh, okay.
And we're at live streaming to YouTube. So do you have anything to show, Gene, or are you just here to like see what other people are doing? And
yeah, I wasn't planning on being here, but I actually found myself with a little bit of time, and I thought, well, I'll see if you guys are still here. I didn't even know if you were, so I was just kind of hanging out.
Excellent. So who has something to show then? Like, so Randall, no, and Barney, it sounds like next week you'd be more lined up for doing that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Plus, I don't know how to show anything. I still haven't learned how to do it.
Yeah, it's really actually quite easy, and any of us can show you how to do it. If you want to walk through it right now, we can definitely do that. Otherwise,
The last time I tried it, I couldn't get it to show because all I have is pictures, stills.
Mhm.
I don't have it in a program, just my regular, however my computer stores photos,
yeah.
and I couldn't get it to show it.
Well, I mean, we could do that right now, or we could wait till another show, or like I could do that with you. I could put together a test run and I could just walk you through it. So it's up to you.
Yeah, I mean, if there's somebody else that's got stuff going on, I don't want to interrupt.
I don't think so. I think
that for-
with Jack. What about you?
I mean, I could show a few pages just to see what you guys think of them because they're not posted yet.
Okay.
If we want to do that.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, let's see what you got.
Cool. So let me do that thing. Let me remember how to do this. That was it. That's the thing I want. Photoshop. Cool. So, well, a little bit more. Okay. So this is the first one. Kind of
get my
a back and
glasses.
forth sort of a conversation. Is everybody seeing that, or?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
The only
Just
thing
tell me if you zoom in or something.
It's a little grainy, but I think that's a video compression issue. So I'll just ask about the dialogue. It looks like it says, so where do you, whoa. That's
okay, that's
you
easier.
zoomed in, that's great.
yeah, that's better.
There you go.
So what do you want to eat? Okay. Can you scroll down?
Is that supposed to be easy and cheap or greasy and cheap? Because it says geezy and cheap.
Oh, typos. Lovely. Okay. Well, that's what we have these things for.
Good catch, Randall. Or Marty. Why don't you zoom out so we can see the whole page, though? Yeah. I mean, it looks in line with all the rest of the pages that you've been doing on your book so far.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, I missed it. Did he have a question or something he was asking? Jack, do you have a...
Not particularly on this one. The next one, I had a bit more difficulty with, but I just wanted to get everybody's opinions on this one first.
Yes, I agree with Greg. It looks like your other ones. It looks like it fits into the story. I don't see any oddball color things or anything strange with it. I think it looks good.
Right.
I now that I'm looking at it longer, I have a couple of small details, and one of them is a side of the panel thing. Now, I know that the character in black is to the left of the character with the green hair.
Right.
And I know that from panel 4. But until I get to panel 4, I really don't know how they occupy space together. Now, of course, I don't know the page before it, so I don't have context.
It's just them leaving the office that they were in.
But does it show who's on the left and who's on the right when they leave
No.
the office?
No.
Okay. So I know that the character in black must be where I am as the reader, because the character with green hair is looking. Wait a minute. Is the character with the green hair looking over the character's shoulder, left shoulder?
No.
Okay.
They are facing kind of 3/4 towards us, and they're looking to their left.
Okay, but now I understand, because the black band in the bag, I can see where. Okay, so do you see why maybe I have that confusion? You know why I have that confusion?
A little bit. I'm not sure what I would do though.
Okay, so you want to tell me why I have that confusion, or want me to explain it?
There's something weird with the arm area.
It's also because that the right shoulder, which I mean by right shoulder is the right shoulder for the character.
Yep.
Is so close to the chin that it almost looks like it could have been intended to be in front of the head, and therefore, and then with the hand and the direction in space that the whole upper arm is going, it's going forward in space, at least because of the way the sleeve of the sleeve curve is.
Tom, would you call the dog, please?
It and then behind the head.
Call the dog.
It in many ways, to me, reinforces the idea that it could be behind the head and that the person's looking back and over their shoulder.
Okay.
Even though I know now exactly what you mean, because the crystal is hanging from the neck and obviously the sleeve of the t-shirt.
Okay.
But if you were to stick your hand, or anybody was watching, in the group, if you stick 3 fingers in front of from the shoulders down, like cover up that, and look like even cover up the chin a little bit, block it from view, or with a piece of paper or your hand. Do you see what I mean by, like, it actually looks a lot like the physiology of looking over your left shoulder and behind you?
Actually, that's what I thought I was, looking over their left shoulder.
Yeah.
I actually thought that's what it was happening, actually.
So the thing is, it's not bad drawing or a problem if that's what's going on, and it's actually not bad drawing even if that is the issue. It's just a matter of inverting some things, or pivoting the shoulders and changing some of that stuff. But I think the quickest change, and it would work in line with what happens in panel 4, because in panel 4 they're side by side, but the character in black is a little behind, or walking a little bit behind the other character, right?
Right.
If you my quick and dirty fix would be take out the crystal and smooth out the line a little bit of that neckline of the shirt. Because with the shirt in the back is the neckline of the shirt in the back is always higher than the in the front, right?
Right.
A t-shirt hangs or whatever. Take out the crystal and then flip flop the shoulder bag.
Right.
right? Because if you did those few little things, no one would know. And it actually is well drawn if that would be the position and the way that the head was. And then I would just like take the shoulder line or the shirt line, cover up the chin a little bit, right?
Right.
So that it basically does the effect a little better, right?
Okay.
Because in all manner of that way, I mean, it actually looks a lot like someone looking back and over their shoulder.
Okay.
You know, rather than having to completely redraw the panel, maybe you might want to redraw the panel, but I would be more inclined to be like, oh, you know what? I'm just going to turn this panel into what it kind of looks like and then
Right.
reinforce it. And then the other thing you could do if you wanted to would be to, you know, I think your tail on your balloon in that top left panel needs to kind of change. It's a little funky where it's coming from. It's sort of coming from the left side over to the right when it should be just on the right side pointing to the right.
Okay.
Like where that balloon is pinched and pointing should be on the opposite side of the bottom of the balloon.
Okay.
And the balloon needs to come away from the border of the panel so that you're not getting a parallel. You're not getting a, what do you call it, a tangent.
Yeah, because apparently I'm known for tangents.
The only other thing is that I think the balloon might be a little big for the lettering, but I think
Yeah.
that's the style thing you're doing. So, but it would definitely allow that balloon to float a little nicer and you know, that kind of thing.
Cool.
I think in general your balloons should come down from the edges a little bit. The balloon in panel 3 needs to get squeezed for vertical, so that it's not touching the hair, the head.
Right.
It's not touching
My
the
thing is, I do the bubbles while I'm inking, not while I'm putting in the text digitally.
Yeah, I think that's a trap that's gonna make it harder and harder for you. So if it was me, I would immediately stop doing that and just disregard any balloons you've drawn, erase them as you move forward digitally, and start, you know, doing your balloons either like do the lettering, and if you want to do hand drawn balloons, you can always make printouts and lightbox the balloons or something.
Right.
If you're not so committed to hand drawn balloons, then, you know, like use digital techniques to make the balloons as well. But I would definitely say that doing what you're doing right now is really kind of making trouble for you that you don't need to make for yourself.
Right.
I definitely agree with that. It's very important to kind of at least have most of an idea of where your words are going to sit and where you're and to give enough space for your balloons, because then you end up it gets really awkward, because then you end up like on that first panel you have a lot of dead space underneath that balloon where there's like nothing really going on. And I mean, I don't know if you're okay with that, but I definitely think that I definitely agree with Greg that keeping in mind where you want the text to go and what you want the balloons to look like, even if it changes as you go, to at least have some idea.
Okay.
Now, here's where drawing on the boards like you're doing, though, is actually really good. Is that, you know, you should definitely, if you feel like if it works for you, especially if you can get it out of there, you know, erase it out of there digitally, you know, certainly sketch your balloons and your words on your page. I mean, get an idea of where things should be approximately, just so you can like kind of fiddle with it. I mean, that's what Jack Kirby and all those other people did, you know, like, but they weren't stuck to it in the end. The letterer made the final decision on the lettering, but it still allows you to like figure out like how much room you need for the lettering. You know, I just wouldn't put yourself in a position of, you know, like being so like actually drawing the balloons, inking the balloons. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's gonna make your life a lot better. In fact, given that it would probably be pretty difficult to manipulate the yes at the bottom panel, I would just go into Photoshop and cut that figure out and just slip them, you know, like hold shift and then shift cursor it like 3 times to the right and trim off the edge, and just to get it backed off of the balloon, because moving the balloon, you don't have room to move the balloon, but you can move the figure a little bit, and it has so much of a piece of black there. I think there's plenty to manipulate. The only other thing, and it's just a consistency thing from panel to panel, is that the figure in black at the top has a certain size neck, and then the panel below again.
Right.
The last panel, it's very thick considering where the lines are in terms of where the line goes from the bottom of the chin down to the front of the torso. So again,
Yeah.
I mean, I would erase that front neck line and start from, you know, like if I was going to say start from a place that is in line with the eye at the bottom of the chin, if you're, you know, put your pointer on it, and then redraw a scalloped, you know, a line that goes inwards and down to a clavicle and moves forward. Right.
I see.
Right now, it's far too thick for what you're, you know, what you've established before.
Right.
It's about like almost a third too thick in the front. You know, you are dead on about where the neck connects from the back to the back
Right.
of
So
the
like,
skull.
like here.
I'd say even farther
Even farther.
to start. Yes.
Oh. Oh. So like.
Yes. Yeah.
There.
Yep. And then you can kind of like manipulate and figure out how to fix, you know, I think that the collarbone skinning area on the front where it's just above the shirt collar.
Yeah.
That you could just erase that. And I think that then you would probably be in the right spot. Like if you just erased all of that and, or, you know, selected it with a polygon lasso and just like deleted it or whatever you want to do.
Right.
But
So like quick and dirty, like
that.
Maybe like that.
Like that. And then you could figure out how the chest muscle and the shirt collar should curve upwards to the neck, like however that needs to kind of get defunkified. But it's, you know, like that to me is the right neck for that character. And then just fix the line under the whole chin. It has a strange bump there and it's a little.
Oh, that's his chin.
Sure. Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would maybe do a little
this
bit
bump
of
right here. That's his chin.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, that's throwing me off a little bit because if you notice at the lip, the bottom lip, then there's kind of a bump, and then there's a kind of
this?
Yes.
That's it. That's a lip piercing.
Okay. Okay. So then that might do well to have a color to make it metal or a thing that is noticeable as that.
I usually give it a little bit of shading.
Right. If it were
yeah,
me,
this page
I
is
might
not
pick,
good for that, but
right. If it was me, I might pick a color that would emphasize that it's an object. In fact, I wouldn't mind seeing a color for the disc that's the earlobe stretcher, you know?
Yeah, here.
Yeah. And the reason why is because it sinks in a little bit to me.
Dog, you need to go.
Right, I mean...
Go away. He's bringing
the only thing that would be the
trying to be on this crit group.
Having a color. Which, I mean, is not a terribly bad thing, but... It'd just be breaking the system that I had set up.
Come here.
If that makes sense.
Could you say that one more time?
Oh, I was just saying that would be the first instance of those piercings having a color. And it'd be breaking the system that I
I mean, I know what I'm asking. Yeah, what I'm asking you would mean changing it all the way through. It's just that I'm looking at what I'm seeing just on its own context even, and it just feels like, to me, I want to see it have its own, you know, weight or solidity or presence.
Right.
And it's harder for that to happen when it's white, the same as flesh. Because in our world, in this comic, flesh is white. Or you could say that you're just not showing flesh tone. But either way, you know what I mean? It's the same value.
Right.
It's the same thing.
Because, like,
it starts to melt together.
If I was going to just go in here with blacks, I'd, like, do something maybe like that. Or, like even like that.
Like it's made out of onyx or something.
Right.
Or a black stone. I mean, that in and of itself, right off the bat, like kind of helps it a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think the chin area is still kind of funky. I think it really needs to be one line that goes from the, you know, from the mandible all the way straight through, unless that is a physical anomaly or something that is bumping it out. Like the thing that you're pointing out that's directly below the chin, that's not really
Right. Well,
because the chin is
it shows up there as well. So
right.
I don't know.
So that is a thing. That is a part of the story. That there's a
that is part of his actual physiology.
Right. Okay. Okay. Then I take back all that because now I understand.
Right.
You can see why it was throwing me off.
Right. Yeah. No, I can definitely see it. It's just again, I'd have to go back in and like fix all of his chin lines for the last 40+ pages.
So, going off of that, Jack, I think something important to keep in mind is that you don't necessarily have to go back and change every single one, just change them going forward, because no matter what, as you create the comic, it's going to change. Like something in your style is going to change, some sensibility is going to change. If you don't let yourself be open to those adjustments like that and like just kind of accept that it's a better fit going forward and not necessarily having to change all the way back, then your work might get stagnant, which you definitely don't want to happen. So I think it's important to keep in mind that you're going to want to, I don't know what I'm trying to say, like you don't want those kind of things to influence how you grow as a creator going forward. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
And I mean, I do understand that it would be kind of a pain for it to change so much, but you know, you'll definitely get those things as you go along. So. I don't know. What do you think, Greg?
No.
You mean like not changing it, going back and like making all those piercings black or something?
Yeah, I guess just being
like
open to it, I guess.
Like since these pages are already done, you're saying, well, maybe not change these ones, but like make them black for like the next pages, or
yes,
like I said, these ones aren't posted yet, so I could potentially go in and fix them. But
that's true. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say fixing because fixing implies that it's not good or it's done incorrectly, and I'm only saying that like for me personally as a viewer, it was getting a little confusing because I wasn't sure if that was physiology or what that particular bump in the front under the lip was. So I don't have context, right?
Right.
So immediately to have context would be like, you know, like the way you decided to keep that character's hair and hat the same color. Like if those piercings, just so that I noticed them as piercings. But that's me. See, like, so I'm not going to say that it's a universal truth to say like you must fix that. But I could tell for me it was a little confusing. But I agree with. I mean, yeah, Jesse's right. I mean, like you could just go from that point.
Right.
I mean, it's up to you. I mean, I know for me, I could get really anal, and I would just be like, if somebody told me that, I would run back and I would change every single instance of it.
Well, but it was like what we were talking about. It's like we were talking about a couple weeks ago with the cat food dispenser. Like I, for one, I don't know. I don't see that. I don't see the ear pieces in the lip piercings on a daily basis. So I wouldn't have caught that. I would have thought it was an anomaly on their face.
Right. So when you read the book, you know, from page 1, you get it. So it's okay.
I think that as long as what we're calling an anomaly or whatever is consistent, then it becomes part of the character. And I mean, unless you're really going for realism or something that's more anatomically correct per se, I get the feeling that these characters are imperfect, and that's part of their charm. But I think consistency is really important. But you know, you can change it. You know, if you want to change the color of the earpiece and the piercing under the lip, then you know people change those out anyway in real life, so it wouldn't really make a difference to continue it on in the story. In this scene, he's wearing black ones, and the next one he's wearing green ones. You know, whatever.
Right.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point.
But I do think that some of the imperfections is part of the charm of your artwork. You know, that these characters are not like these perfectly, they're very normal human beings, you know, with all our faults and quirks.
Right. Well, that's it for the page I wasn't worried about. Jeez. Yeah, so this one here. Yeah, I mean, it's not terrible, but it's not, I don't know, particularly good either. Kind of just establishing them walking into the restaurant and seeing, like, these three fringe characters.
Okay, so the two people who were in it before aren't even in this picture.
Right, well, it's setting up the scene, really. Because what's going to happen is these two characters here are going to have an altercation that results in a monster, like, getting agitated and attacking the main characters. So this is just me setting up the restaurant, setting up these two characters, bringing out that monster.
For just a second, I thought I saw 2 pages. Is that right?
Oh, yeah, there's...
Is it the following page?
Yeah, this is the following page after that one.
Actually, you know, it'd be kind of cool to see both of them together.
Oh,
just for context of how things sort of move, you know, because pages are sort of not necessarily independent of each other. There we go.
Especially when you get to print.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just speaking for purely storytelling sort of perspective. Like,
right.
Yeah.
I wonder
so
if
is it. I just want to make sure I have this. Like, welcome to fastest food. What can I get you? I can't. I don't know what's in the next panel though.
It's pretty like the
What's
page 38 here is her just ordering a salad and him not really speaking up.
Right.
And then page 39 is her trying to be like, okay, order. And he's mumbling and stammering, like he doesn't feel comfortable talking. Right. And then she gets angry with him and smacks him up the side of the head and tells him just, we'll get the food and I'll be right back. And the cashier is like completely unfazed, doesn't care at all.
Is he just doing
dead
the script
inside?
of what happens when you buy food? Kind of.
Right.
Now, is that little squiggly thing the monster before it becomes a monster?
Yeah, this little blue squiggly is the monster, like getting ready to become the bigger monster.
Okay. All right. So now I have context. So now I know what's going on. All right. So what's everybody think of this?
I had a hard time transitioning from they're going to go into the restaurant to all of a sudden you're seeing somebody else that's already in the restaurant. But that might just be me because I don't do abstract as well as other people. So
to you, it's a little bit of a jump. Like you might want to see a little bit of that action of them going in before.
Yeah, like a door, them partially walking through a door and sort of seeing a little bit of that scene.
We lost your artwork.
Oh.
I know.
Okay.
We have a very nice
sorry.
image of your Photoshop window.
Okay.
I really love
I was doing something smart. Never mind.
I don't know. Do other people think there needs to be a transition? I mean, I have a hard time with transitions that aren't spelled out, but that's the way my brain works, and I am aware of that. But I know a lot of other people don't have problems with that. So,
well, I mean,
sorry, Greg. Was the last page the one we were just looking at the transitions into the establishing shot of the restaurant?
the one we were looking at and fixing the chin line, and now that's the one that goes into the restaurant.
The one that with we were talking about the piercings and stuff. That was them right before they were going into the restaurant.
Okay.
Could you maybe throw that in as well and lay up all 3 pages along a row. Yeah, there you go.
I think that
Awesome.
the big thing is it might be, I know that these characters look different and have different color schemes, but it might be a little jarring going from our like main characters to being like, yeah, let's go in here, and then suddenly we are seeing another like male and female type character at the register.
Mm-hmm.
Like, maybe if you saw the other characters in the foreground waiting in line or something. I'm not quite sure what the next step is here, but like switching to these different characters, the transition from being outside to inside isn't what necessarily jars me. What's bothering me is that we're suddenly with two different characters that are like just another set of characters essentially, which is a little weird.
Right.
Not a huge deal, but
I mean, I think that would do the job to make the transition would be to actually just have the characters in page 37 together in the same left and right setup that they're in, you know, like in the rest of that page. Like, so the character in black is on the left and is on stage left, and the other character's on their right. And maybe they're facing each other, and maybe even you could put some balloons above them that were empty to imply that they were talking to each other or something, but that they were so far in the foreground that they were really like almost like objects, but we know that that's them. You could even put a shadow over them to like darken them up a little bit so that they're not the focus, but it would be a nice way to sort of bridge what happens in 37 with what happens in 38.
Well, what about just changing the color scheme?
What's that?
What about just changing the color scheme on page 38? Even though I know it's all part of the same story, you are changing it from being outside to being in a totally different environment.
Mm-hmm.
And that might...
I don't think that would actually clue you in on the things that you're saying that you might want to be clued in for, because the same conditions of missing characters and a missing entrance scene are the same conditions. The only thing that would change is that it would be colored differently. But imagine if the first time you saw this page like 5 minutes ago, the counter was orange and the Bing Bong sign was blue and the girl had orange hair, you would still have the same issues with what was confusing, right?
Right.
Like, look at
Well,
it.
what if you just saw the
perfect way to, I mean, the conditions of what is confusing or not confusing is ultimately the same no matter how you color it.
What if right in page 38, right in the foreground, on the left there, at the left and the bottom in the foreground, you had like the top of the girl's head, the girl with the green hair and the hat.
Okay.
Well, it's a
Right,
green,
well, that's
green monster hair or whatever. What if you just had like the top of her head, or even maybe even bigger, so and it's spilling off the left lower corner? Yeah. So they're kind of like walking into it.
That's the thing that Jesse was suggesting. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you
So
kind
it
of
sounds-
see them entering,
Yeah.
even though you're shifting your focus to these other people in the front.
Yep.
totally.
And that's
Yeah.
that's exactly the thing. And I think the way that Jack is, that's great, Jack. And then you could again in Photoshop, you could cut the two of them out. You can shift them over a little bit in the background, so that one isn't too so that they're equally covered maybe. And that will do the job, I think, right?
Yeah, I think that's great. Plus, you've got it as a full page, so it gives the page a lot more interest to have that depth of perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
It definitely jumps up a lot, and it becomes more of a full-on. There's interest in the page equal to other pages now that suddenly you have some other figures and. And it also actually helps to add some depth, whereas originally it was a bit flat. So
I will miss the girls fine behind, though.
Well, if Jack chooses to slide those characters over, Jesse, you might end up seeing some more. If you are willing to donate to Jack's Patreon, an extra $25, he may consider giving you special access to the original version of the page.
I'll tell you what, you do 25 on mine. Put it that way.
All right, I'll see you guys next week. I gotta hit the sheets.
So have those new logos.
Bye, Barney.
Have
Yeah.
those-
See you later.
I'll have the new logos. I'll have something to show you guys next
do like
week.
two
the
or
new
do
logos.
like 3 or 4 or 5 different treatments and different typefaces.
Yeah, perfect.
Cool.
Cool.
All right.
See you later, everybody.
See ya.
Bye.
Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.
So that's a success now,
Yeah.
because not only have we fixed up page 38, but we've also gotten Jack an extra $25 a month on Patreon.
Next step is to solve world hunger.
Well, order a Bing Bong Bowl.
Right.
Mhm.
Whoa, what happened to Jack?
Jack, where'd you go?
I think his computer either crashed or he was not hearing us. Maybe he refreshed. Yeah.
There he is.
probably had to
It
refresh.
kicked me off.
Now we figured you got what you needed, and you were like, "Fuck those guys."
That's
No.
Kidding.
That's pretty odd.
No. Apparently, it wanted me to leave when Barney left.
Wow.
Okay.
All right, so let's
So-
get back to it.
Page 39.
Yes. Can you minimize the layers window?
Oh, sorry. Oop. And
color?
the- Yeah, the color.
Awesome. Because now we're good. Now we can kind of see how this whole kind of rolls along
Oh, here.
as a miniature
There you go.
sequence. Yeah.
Mhm.
Personally, I like this page the best of all 3. I really like the way you're using the same action plane, the same stance of the characters to show that this is a conversation that's happening in real time. So it's
Mhm.
many panels, which in a lot of cases in comics, panel to panel can be event to event. But in this case, time is very, very compressed. And one of the ways that a good way to do time compression is by having extremely similar or the same size and layout of panel over and over and over again, because you're starting to like granularly like shave off tiny increments of time, right?
Mhm.
And so I think that's a really good way to do this. It's also a really good way to do the job of explaining to the audience the difference between the 2 characters, as if they're standing in front of us and we're getting like like if this was the director's cut, there'd be the narration boxes on either side that would say the girlfriend is rude and unfair to her boyfriend, and the boyfriend is does not stick up for himself and seems to accept his lot in life to be smacked in the head.
Right.
Like, there'd be those things being said in text, but instead they're context, right? They're contextual, and I think this kind of layout is a really good way to make that happen.
Hmm.
So it's good. Plus we get this weird little thing on the side. Like, what's that? What's that weird thing, floating around, right? So that's kind of funny. And then it's gone. By the time we're noticing it's growing, it's gone, because literally we've changed perspective, and now we're looking at Mr. Robot there. Would you like cheese with that? And there's a huge amount of tension in what's built up, right?
Mhm.
Which is also another thing that this kind of panel layout will reinforce, is a lot of tension, because you're waiting and waiting and waiting for what's going to happen. And now, like, the tension is built, and now we're switching perspective to the guy selling us the burger, which means we're inside of us, we're going like, oh, fuck, like, what's going to happen? Like, because this guy behind the counter has no idea what's coming, but we already feel like something may be coming, even if it's just that this guy's getting another beat down or a humiliation of some kind. Like,
Right.
we're concerned about what's going to happen, because already in 3 panels we know that this guy can do nothing right. So imagine what's coming when, like, the fries aren't the right length, or the straw isn't the right color, or something like that. Who knows what this guy's in for? And we're already hesitating.
I know what I'm in for when the fry's not the right length, but
I've seen what happens. It's not pretty. You also deserve it. It's just saying.
Yeah, I definitely like the rhythm that happened in this page. Kind of like you were saying with the timing and seeing the incremental build-up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also, it's just drawn. It's drawn well. Like it's of a number of pages in the book. I think this is one that's on the higher end of drawing, and it has to do with 3/4 views and attempting some more subtle gestural sort of stuff. Her hand gestures that go with her. You know, she obviously talks with her hands, and it shows. And there's kind of little things that change, and little things that change with her looking to the right.
That's actually a great jumping off point for my comment with the hand gestures. In the third panel, she's turned her back and is walking away from him and saying, I'm going to go sit over there, bring the food or something like that. Instead of having her palm up as she had it in the first panel, since she's completely reoriented her body, maybe she should completely reorient her hand. And since she talks with her hands, have her pointing in the direction she's going, maybe, instead of having this repeated. You know, that's the only stagnant part of that page, I think, is the fact that you repeated the hand motion. Have her do something different. Keep it a little more interesting. Maybe have her pointing assertively, like, I'm going over there.
It's true. And, you know,
I agree with that as well.
Yeah. And you could even have that in a very subtle way, but just redrawing the hand, but palm down.
Yeah. Or yeah, if she's less an assertive character, although she's whacking a guy against the side of the head, it could just be I'm going over there.
She could be pointing off. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's good.
That's otherwise I agree with Greg. It's a very strong page. I like the moment to moment to moment. Just the action just hits these beats that are very satisfying.
Right. So I'm just gonna circle that so I don't forget.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Anybody else got something to say?
Anybody got something to say? Huh?
I like it.
I like it quite a bit as well. I think there's a great sense of movement. I like how it's very like I'm a fan of when there's like multiple panels of the same shot where just different things are happening. I think it just paces it out well. It's good to have a good balance between like how many panels do you need to have the discussion versus how long you want the discussion to feel. Like what points are you hitting? And I think that the rule of 3 is there for a reason. So I think that that's great.
Yeah, in fact, this is like a pacing and a panel style and a conversation style I don't ever use, and I should probably learn to use, which is why I'm struggling so much with like, you know, the writing and the conversations and the dialogue my characters have in my comic, because I haven't done this, so I feel like I'm learning something looking at this page. Like, oh yeah. I should do that for that one page that I have all these talking heads and I can't figure out the pacing or how to draw it. Duh, keep it simple. Just, you know, keep the same shot and let subtle motions take care of the rest. So bravo.
Agreed.
Cool.
I like the sense of the fast-paced timing that it gives, having him, and I don't know exactly why it does it in that format. Maybe just because they're stacked and they're in their same positions, you know, one on top of the other. So you see, I really like it. Good job.
Cool. Yeah.
Hooray!
All right. The last one.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
It's great.
That happened.
Don't change a goddamn thing. Moving on. No, I'm just kidding. That R's touching the monster. Quit it.
You know what? Fine.
Sorry, I'm being. But no, this really does look super cool.
There.
Did it?
So I'd like to see the second panel there, the transition from the first to the second. So is it he's just turning around?
Right. What happened was the little blue thing actually like went into his mouth as like a metaphor because it's the throat monster. So kind of like Harry Potter first movie with the snitch like going in his mouth, sort of a deal. So the monster went in here, and then he's turning around, and then he opens the mouth, and then the big monster comes out.
Okay, so I'm not really getting that the little monster goes in as much. I see that it comes out, but it already looks like on the top that it's starting to come out. So that's a little confusing, even though I know that's the part where you're saying it's going in.
Right, that might be a mistake of wrong
I
color.
actually agree. It looks a little out of order to me.
Right, it might be this tail that's kind of confusing.
Oh, it might be, yeah. Or the other piece is near his mouth too, though. So.
Well, this is the monster going in.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I think that and
something goes in the mouth in the top panel. A change happens. Something comes out.
Right. So the step progression is monster comes out of here, goes around in here, is in his mouth.
It gestates, yeah.
And then he turns,
and
then here.
And then there's audio feedback.
Right.
So where but the girl disappears.
Yeah, Jean is making a good point. The girl is also gone. Oh, this is while she's gone to the bathroom or wherever she went.
Right. Yeah.
So
I think the motion of the monster going in the mouth in the top panel needs to be made more clear, but maybe a little bit of a motion line for him turning around as well would be helpful, because we're just like looking at his back then looking at his front, and it's kind of static both ways. There's no like I feel like a little motion, just a little motion line in that panel.
Line, but that might not be enough.
Yeah, I don't think it's pronounced enough. Or
it kind of looks a bit like a fleck rather than
like a little sweat bead or something instead of a motion line.
Okay.
What if it was those two center panels were, instead of two stacked, were three next to each other, where you had a transition between him, like where he's more sideways and then turning.
Right.
I don't know.
In other words, in other words, more of a 3-stage pivot that goes across the page in 3 panels, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know if that would still help me to understand that it went into his mouth and then has come back.
It only addresses the issue of turning him around to the viewer. But I would agree, and I'm sorry that there's so many ideas coming at you, Jack. So just.
Well, this is why I'm leaving them on the page, so I'll remember.
Yeah, totally. I mean, what Gene's talking about does spark off an interesting idea, which is that you could have 3 vertical panels that going across the page, and in those 3 vertical panels could be what happens in panel 2 in the first one, what happens in panel 3 in the third one, and one in between, like Gene is saying, where the character is sideways and starting to turn to its own right towards the camera, so that it almost looks like it's on a Lazy Susan. The camera is spinning around that guy, or
maybe in the first of the 3, it could be like you could really see it going into his mouth more, or something.
I think that needs to be accomplished in panel 1.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's like where Randall was bringing up. I'm sorry, I was away from the mic, so I didn't, or the headphones. Like what Randall was saying, like the first panel is about that thing going in his mouth, so it needs to be worked out that way in that first panel. I would say in panel 2, what you could have is the last of it slurping into his mouth, right, with a couple of spit bubbles or something to kind of show it's at the end of going in there, like he slurped in the last of the spaghetti. You know what I mean?
I was wondering how come in the same page it goes in his mouth and then comes right back out.
Because he's changing from the little docile monster into the big aggressive monster.
It basically gestates inside of him, apparently.
What if it went in his ear?
Baby.
What if it went in his ear?
This whole scene is supposed to be more metaphorical, like I said, because it's the throat monster. So pretty much his issue is he's having a hard time voicing his concerns and his needs to his aggressive partner person, and it's manifesting in this internal struggle a la the monster.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Basically, that little spirit then can grow into and take on the level of anxiety and sort of anger he has, and that grows it into the full size thing.
Right.
Is that explained pretty quickly, or?
I haven't sketched out the next pages, so potentially.
Okay, I guess just the
I mean,
thing
I'm
that I
kind
would
of
the thing that I
going
would
off
want to
of-
say is that just if you were planning on leaving it up to the audience's interpretation, then I think it's just going to be confusing unless you've established some kind of rule there. You don't have to spell it out, but like just so we sort of understand what's going on.
I mean,
Because
I'm also partially basing it off of the audience in a few scenes back where the green hair character and the black character were dealing with the three-headed dragon turtle, where the black character got like upset and whatever, and then the little turtle turned into the big turtle.
Oh, okay. So I guess I should actually like read the other ones. So you've actually set this up already, so that's fine.
Kind of, more or less. Not with this monster per se.
Yeah, but you've set up the idea that that's a thing that the monsters can do, is kind of absorb and take on energies, essentially.
Right.
So, okay, I'll shut up now then.
So Jack, I have a question.
Mhm.
Why is the girl with the green hair, I'll just call it green hair, I know it's a monster, but why is she tapping him on the back and saying, sir?
Because the green hair character and the black hair character can see this blue monster
Uh-huh.
because of their connection with the monsters.
So is she expressing some concern?
Right, right,
That was what I thought, but I wasn't 100% sure.
right. Yeah.
Um,
They're like, hey,
but then she
so
disappears.
trying to be proactive, but it's a bit too late.
Right, okay.
I think that where that kind of starts to fall less than what you're intending to communicate is that because she's gone, we're talking about sort of meta stuff, not literal stuff. Literally, because of the last 2 pages, we know that she and the other character must be in the room because they walked in and they were there on that other page, behind them.
Right.
But on purely visual language, it's confusing because the reader is seeing that there are 4 characters in the front area of the burger place.
Yep.
Then literally there are only 2 people in the front area of the burger place, and then literally there are only 1. And then we're back to 2, and then we're down to 1. So what's sort of missing is context for where did they all go.
Right. Well, I guess my assumption was that the black character is still pretty new to this, is like not really like concerned and just kind of like looking at the menu or something.
Right, but
Like,
I
they're
mean,
not part
right,
of this interaction per se yet.
right. But the problem is that for the viewer, see, the thing is, everything that happens in a comic set of pages is almost like a diorama. So imagine you're looking at the diorama that the kid made with the plastic dinosaurs and the army men and plastic plants, and there's a spaceship or whatever, and the foil and whatever. But like, imagine suddenly you looked off to the left and then you look back into the viewfinder in the diorama, and the army men were gone, and there was a plastic banana in there. Like, you would be like, wait a minute, what happened to the army men? Why is there a banana here? Because there's no context. Like, and if the person who made the diorama started telling you why, that might be okay, but it's jarring, right? So like imagine that each panel when you make a comic is like looking through that shoebox diorama viewfinder, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And but in this case, there's nobody standing next to it to tell you why things changed when you looked away for a second. So you have to
Okay.
account for those. You have to account for those discrepancies
Mm.
in a story, and that's storytelling, right? So,
Okay.
so it's like if we could back up, can we go back to the page previous?
Yep.
Because the solution for this page has to actually do with the previous page.
Well, here, would this be helpful if I put them
Yeah, totally.
kind of like that?
And again, this is my opinion of what is the solution, but it's based on like my reading about the subject and what people have taught me and stuff like that, right? So, and it's actually kind of good to look at it this way. I don't know if these two pages would be facing each other in print because I don't know how long the book is and we don't have a dummy for it, so we can't really say yet. But either way, imagine that one of the assumptions in page 39 is that the other two people from the previous events are there. They're either to the sides, they've gone to the bathroom, they're sitting down at a table because they're really tired, or we assume that they're standing behind them, but in some metatextual way, they're not there literally to be seen because it would be too confusing, let's say. I don't know, whatever it is.
Right.
We know they're there, right? Just like we know that behind the green robot guy who serves you the food, there's a whole pile of people making disgusting food back there, but for the purposes of casting the scene, you know, we've decided, let's say, to leave out those background details, but we know in our head they're there. Just like
Right.
we know there's windows back there and we know there's tile on the floor. It's just, you know, a choice, right?
Right.
But where it becomes an issue is like the way Gene just said, like suddenly the girl with the green hair appears to say, hey, are you okay, right? Well, then that becomes a little weird. Like she just appears and disappears. I mean, not in the story sense of the word, right? In the story, she doesn't appear and disappear, but in terms of the metatextual narrative of page of just like surface and image, she does appear and disappear. So the way I would fix it is I would stick them in the background of the other characters throughout page 39. I would basically give them an entire background of actions that would be pantomime, that would be like silent movie actions, probably in response to what's happening in front of them. I would also draw them with a broken line or with a very, very light line, and I would put a shadow over them, you know, kind of like the way the guy's shirt is. I would actually silhouette them a little bit with like 20% or 30% gray, but basically make them aware, make them in the scene a bit, looking at each other when she gets hit, something like that, whatever it is, right? So that
what if it stays about that guy with the monster and she's not in that top panel on page 40, but it then approaches him after this big monster comes out to show some concern for what he's experiencing?
That may be a whole different story.
Does that change the story too much?
But the only reason,
she,
if it's okay, if I could just finish, the reason why I'm saying it is because she's so abruptly appearing on page 40 that without some context of what's going on, or that she's even observant of what's going on, I feel like maybe that might be a solution of some kind to put them back in there somewhere, so that when she gives them that sort of attention, like it's not completely out of context.
So like maybe if in between the worker person and then that top panel on 40 there was a picture of the green-haired girl and the guy with the ear thing, and she's like just saying just 1 minute, you know, to her friend before she goes over to.
No, I just think that just having them in the background of the first three panels on page 39 to establish that they're there in the same space and that they're aware of the actions of these two characters in front of them is sufficient to then at page 1 on page 40 for us to go, oh yeah, well of course she's going to say something because she just saw the guy get smacked in the back of the head and now he's got a blue weird microscopic demon going into his face. You know, like
Well, they've already they've already established that they're there. He's already established that they're there by adding them into that front on page 38, by adding them into the foreground.
right, but that
Right?
that doesn't, but that's not enough. Like
No.
that's an insufficient amount of coverage on pulling those characters together in a scene. It needs more to carry it through, because once you've eliminated characters from the picture plane, especially for as long as a page, even when it's a facing page, but certainly if it's a page flip, you've lost those characters to the reader on a certain meta narrative level. They've ceased to exist in the space. They've gone off stage left or stage right from the play. Imagine it's a play, right? You're watching Macbeth. As soon as Macbeth leaves the stage, he is gone from the play. We know he exists in the play doing something off stage, but he ceases to exist, and then it's what is it, the girl he's in love with, or the whatever is on stage at that time, right? Like, in other words, think of it in terms of that sort of way. For those moments, Macbeth essentially ceases to exist, and your attention is on the narrative and the talking and the exchanges that are going on between the characters who are currently on stage. When they leave stage left or stage right, they cease to exist, and the other characters preceding them come back, right? So, like, if you don't have that, if you don't bring them into stage, they start to wither and start to disintegrate in terms of the reader's attention, right?
Yeah, that part actually didn't bother me. What bothered me was she's saying "sir," and then she just disappears after that. I was okay with her not being in that whole page 39, but then when she just appeared in 40 and then disappeared right away again,
it's true.
That was where I got lost.
Yeah, I think that it's true that, like, in those,
because I really like 39. I like the way it's laid out. I like everything about it.
Yeah.
I hate to see him mess with it too much because it really reads well.
I'd like to throw out that the reason that doesn't bother me, that you can't see her in those other two panels, is because it's her point of view.
Oh.
Like, she's she taps him on the back, and then we're looking at her watching him turn around.
Oh, I see that.
I don't know how you could convey that more easily. For me, that's just how I naturally read it. I'm not sure. I mean, clearly that might be kind of a polarizing issue for some, but that's what I saw. Jack, was that what you were intending?
Yeah.
You can say that, if it's like
Jesse is the smartest of us all.
If we're all super off track, you can be like, but
yeah, please put us in
like,
well, here's this. I think the solution then in that case is to just really blow him the fuck up in the panels, so that because then what you could do, really, it would be kind of clever. And it would help to reinforce the thing that Jesse clicked in on, because he's smarter than us. I mean that, by the way.
Can I just throw something out real quick before we go further?
What if you zoom in on him?
Yeah. I think it's very important that, like, we don't necessarily interrupt each other when we're getting feedback, but if we go off on a major tangent and you had an intention you were going for, you can definitely throw that out. And if it works, or if we see it that way, that's why I always am like, this is my intention for X thing, which tends to, I don't know, it just tends to help, I feel. But
anyway. No, you're right. You're right. You're definitely right about that.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, because I really hate to see him mess with page 39, because that's like near perfect.
I love his face, the one that you're stretching right now.
Right.
He's just like, I'm full and I'm sad.
Try making him like about another couple of steps bigger, like like that panel 3 is bigger than panel 2 kind of thing. like way closer in, maybe. There you go.
Sorry, I'm just sitting here messing with stuff.
It's all right.
We're
Yeah, we're watching
mesmerized.
it. Yeah.
Okay.
You don't even have to keep it in the same shape panel that you had it in. If you put one off to one side and one off to the other and give them some, I don't know how to say it, so that there's more movement just in the actual shape of the panel. Don't mind me though, it's your, definitely, I don't want to mess with the style of what you've got going
Right.
too much.
Well, it's okay. These are just the JPEGs I'm messing with, not the actual files.
Okay, good. Now, I do have a question about the bottom one where the monster's coming out. Are his eyes supposed to be wide open?
No, they're supposed to be closed.
Okay.
Would they make more sense wide open? I thought that might be a bit
I kind of think it's
jarring.
like if some big monster's coming out of my mouth that I could see, my eyes would be bugging.
I like the way it is. I think it all depends on what tone you're trying to set.
That's true.
Is it like a holy shit kind of thing, or is it like I'm getting a very graceful flowing out of the monster from the image?
Well,
that's what I see.
Practical, if anything, because after the three-headed turtle thing came out and the green hair character was dealing with it, the black hair character passed out. So it's more of the body just physically being overwhelmed by this thing. And it's just kind of like, okay, I'm just gonna not do anything right now. If that makes sense.
So it's like a extremely epiphanial moment.
Kind of. It's like all of the body's energy is focused on the monster, and not necessarily in normal body functions, if that makes sense.
Sure.
They're kind of passed out in a way, kind of a thing, and then once they wake up, they're gonna be like, oh, now I feel better, and I'm going to try and confront my girlfriend, partner person about this thing that is obviously, I guess, a problem.
So it's an empowering monster.
Well, they are and they aren't, because they help with realizations, but at the same time, they're not pleasant to deal with.
Sounds like it's a little close to home there, Jack.
It actually sounds very metaphorical for therapy. It's like
it's great.
It literally is.
It's not easy, but in the end, it's helpful. But it's a tough road.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely, I don't know what anyone else thinks, but that last panel, I really like that last panel, but I definitely see it as I almost hear a harp as it's coming out. There's a very it's very zen to me. It just looks like it's just he just opened his mouth, he shut his eyes, opened his mouth, and it just kind of came out. It could be because of his very stiff pose.
Right.
But that's just what I got from it. That doesn't necessarily, I don't know what anyone else thinks, but.
Yeah, well, it's a very sinuous line. It kind of comes out and curves. It just kind of curves around. So it does, even though the head of the monster seems a little more jagged, the coming out of it is very flowing.
Yeah, and that's one of the aspects of this monster in particular. It's kind of fish-like, kind of liquidy, so it's supposed to be kind of flowing and fluid, but at the same time kind of, vicious.
There you go. You did it. You got it down then.
I don't necessarily get the vicious. I mean, I see that it has scary teeth. Randall, what do you think? I heard a big
I'm thinking about something completely different, actually. All his pages, he's very controlled with the panels, and things kind of are set within them in a certain way. And that's like the one panel right at the end where I want that monster to like break the panel wall, and we actually like see the whole thing coming out of the panel. It just seems like it's trapped in there. Even though it's supposed to be merging.
Tangent? I'm sorry, but do you see it? Right
Do
there.
I see?
Right
What
here.
are we looking for?
The world's biggest tangent.
Oh, where he's bumping up against the.
Yeah.
Yeah. That like, and just
It's
like with
telling to
the
escape.
fin things coming off its face. Like I want to see what the rest of those look like. I don't know. He just feels trapped in this tiny little box, and maybe that's just a stylistic choice because of the way you lay out your pages. But that's like the one panel where I just want to see you break the panel wall and do something outside the constraints of the box. But that's just me. I love doing that in my work.
Right.
So.
I mean, you could give a lot more room to that last frame by just simply using a lot less room to say the same things for the preceding frames. I mean, everything that happens in panels 1, 2, and 3 can be achieved in panels that are half the space. So either vertically and horizontally half the space. So basically, like, you could take a lot of space away from those panels and make the figures a little smaller and group them together tighter and have a lot more space at the bottom for what happens in the last panel. Just because it just happens to be that what happens in 1, 2, and 3 don't necessarily require, equivalent panel size. They don't have to necessarily take up that much.
Oh, that's why that's sorry.
I think you'd also maybe, I don't know how. Oh, these are just the final JPEGs, right?
Yeah, no, these aren't the actual files.
These aren't the layered. These aren't the layered
Nah.
files.
No, go away.
No, we're not going to go away.
I might.
I love watching you use this program on here.
Yep. Well, this is Photoshop CS2 and a old Wacom bamboo tablet.
I got one of those.
I just realized I was trying to draw on my shape layer, and I'm like, why is my paintbrush not working?
I don't remember who actually says it, but I read somewhere a funny quote that was like, much amazing art has been created with borrowed time and stolen materials.
Yep.
I think if I tried to use CS2 on my computer, I'd probably get hacked.
Why?
Because the old software actually they find that if it's not being updated regularly, people can actually find security holes in it.
Oh yeah, tons of vulnerabilities.
Yeah.
That's why Microsoft is like, stop using Windows XP, businesses. Why? And we're like,
what are
it's still awesome.
What
Windows
are
10 sucks.
What are the exploits for Adobe products?
I was using a CS5. We don't have to get too deep into
No,
this.
it's okay. It's interesting.
I also don't want to talk out of turn because I only know a tiny bit about it. But I know that when I was using when I was using an old version of the CS5, because I finally caved and started doing the Creative Cloud, which solved all of my problems. I was getting a lot of like driver conflicts and like stuff would like tools stopped working, and I would randomly get like all of my keys changed what they did, and
Ooh.
yeah, it was very bizarre. And like I don't know what I really don't know what it was, but it was
just. Are you in a Mac or PC environment?
I'm on a Mac.
No, then that's a totally different story then, because
yeah.
I've been using CS7 or whatever this is. I don't know.
CC or no CS6.
I'm on CS6. So I've been on the same copy of CS6 for full Creative Suite since CS6 came out, and I've reinstalled it a million times. I never update it, and I've never had any subsequent issues that were related to an Adobe install.
Yeah, we're running 5.5 at work, and works like a charm. And that's in a Mac environment.
I'm guessing that there's a multiple set of reasons that something went funky. Of course, I can't speak for a Mac platform. I used to have a G4 long time ago, but it's very easy for Macs to get a joint. I doubt it's a virus, but it could be.
Right.
But it really. I mean,
I understand the driver thing because drivers operate hardware.
Particularly
They're
on
what
Mac,
allows your
Mac,
hardware
really,
to digitally communicate.
Yeah,
So,
I'm sure it's a multitude of different things like Wacom driver, OS update, version of the software, other programs I'm running, the hardware on my iMac. It's just the RAM that I'm using. Like I had a huge RAM problem for a while I was getting kernel panics, and I had to dump it all and replace the entire thing. But which also solved a lot of other problems. But and this computer is now 4 years old, but still mostly runs like it was when I got it. But yeah, I know that it's not just it was not just Photoshop, but switching over to the Creative Cloud has fixed all the problems that I had. So.
Yeah.
Okay, well, back over here. So this is kind of.
I didn't want to get into that, but
well, it actually gave me an opportunity to do some work. So.
Oh, there you go.
Where like, if I took those two blue squares and I just put them in where the light blue is now, and then dedicated this whole like bottom space to this like reveal of the big monster, is that kind of what you were getting at, Greg?
Well, it definitely allows you to have some more space for that monster. I mean, obviously, you'd redraw the panel a little bit to accommodate all that. But if you're talking about just basic page usage, Randall, is this what kind of more the sort of usage of the page? I mean, in relative importance, is this kind of more like what you were thinking of? Like to give that much more panel range, like to that explosive monster part, and diminish some of the other stuff in terms of where it takes up space on the page?
I wasn't even really getting at that. I just wanted to see him break a panel border. That's all.
Right. I mean, I would, but I haven't.
Right. So it's a stylistic choice.
Right.
I think Greg's solution then is useful here because it you want it to be more heavy of a focus. You want it to be more dramatic, more like a big moment. And if you're not going to break out of the panel, then make the panel bigger so it has more impact visually.
Right.
And then, to me, what I would do is make the figure of the character the same size he was previously, so he would take up like a third of the height of the panel, and that would give you an enormous amount of space to build that monster out of his mouth, and it would also give you some space to even put some other stuff in there if you wanted to put the other characters in.
Right.
Like pop-eyed and like, going, what the hell is going on? Like in other words, it would give you room for those other choices if you wanted to have those kinds of choices in there. Obviously, there's a lot of reasons to not have them in there because you have a pattern for many pages of singular characters or just two characters doing things in a picture plane. So this would depend on you.
I just want to throw out again, like what we were talking about earlier, is that I think it's really important not to let what you've done or not done dictate what you do going forward. Just because you haven't done it yet doesn't necessarily mean you can't. If you don't want to do that, that's a whole other story. Like I actually made a bit of a choice with the comic I'm working on now to not really break panel borders. The only thing that I've done so far is I had one where it was just two characters standing, and I just don't have a background at all. They're not in a border, but like any panel border breaking, I've decided I just don't really want to do.
Right.
But so if it's something you don't want to do, that's one thing, but I wouldn't let that I wouldn't let the fact that you haven't done it get in the way of opening yourself up creatively to the concept of that.
Mm.
But again, if you don't want to, that's fine too.
Okay.
I like her hair, Purple Girl's hair.
Yeah. It was fun to draw. And I find it hilarious, but for the record, this is a guy.
Which one?
What's that?
Oh, that's a guy?
Yeah, yeah.
No. Really?
Right. I mean, I was more amused, if anything. I mean, I shouldn't be amused that my character's getting misgendered, but I don't know. It was an interesting insight into the character design.
Which one's the guy, Jack?
The green-haired one.
'Cause I thought they were wearing a skirt in the previous thing.
No, they were wearing an apron.
Apron. Oh, okay. So that's where I got the girl from.
Well, I mean, you're attempting to be a little bit more fluid with gender stuff anyway, right?
Relatively.
Okay.
I mean, this character is canonically trans anyway, so I mean, it's not too far-fetched.
Okay. I didn't want to make any
really
assumptions, but I was just I had thought that was something that you were going for anyway, is that the character's not necessarily gender neutral or binary, but like, I don't know. I don't really know too much about it, so.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I kind of hinted at it with the 3-pager about like the green hair character and their little like squiddly fish thing. Previous to this scene, but didn't really go into it much.
Yeah, do they have a term for? So it's a guy.
Yeah.
You're telling me it's a guy. Okay, so I'll call it a him.
Again,
I
I
didn't
was
realize
more
that
amused if
because I think I saw it with the apron in a previous thing, and I thought it was a skirt. So.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought it was a girl as well at first, but I don't think it necessarily. I don't know if it matters or not.
Right.
I don't think it does either.
Did not want to do that. There we go. All right. Anything else you guys want to say about this?
Destroy Jack. No, I'm just kidding.
I think you should be really proud of yourself, Jack, because you're really putting out some great stuff here.
Yeah, your work keeps getting better and better, and you're taking all the suggestions, and you're not just being like, fine, I'll do what everyone's telling me to do. You're taking it, you're really learning from it, which I think is awesome.
Yay.
And I really love this page 39. I think it's excellent.
Yeah, I got pretty excited when I was thumbnailing it out, to be honest.
I wish I could thumbnail. My thumbnails are like a full page. That's how I thumbnail.
I don't know. I think the thumbnails is like the brainstorming of drawing. Like, you just put stuff down on a piece of paper. You don't edit. You don't try and make it all tight. You just go for it.
Right. But
Like, even with stick
traditionally,
figures.
that's small
whatever.
little things, right? I mean,
They don't necessarily
like-
have to be.
no,
Yeah, like,
I'm always impressed when people can do that because
Right, like this little doodle here, that's like what my thumbnails look like. They're just like blobs with like expressions.
I think those are great. I would save a lot of paper if I could do that.
Hey, Greg, you moved.
I did.
No, like you were still for a very long time, and I almost thought it was frozen on you.
Oh no. I'm fiddling with something in Photoshop.
Ah.
So I downloaded that GIMP. I haven't had a chance to use it yet. I'm gonna wait.
Okay.
I'm gonna wait and see. Now, do I scan into it, or do I draw something on paper and then scan into it?
Well, when you say scan into it, meaning you scan using your scanning software for your scanner, and then you bring the image, and then you open the image in GIMP. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
GIMP does not support scanning function the way some old versions of Photoshop used to.
Okay.
But, yeah. No,
Should I just be purchasing Photoshop?
I mean, if I were me, I would just say buy Photoshop, or
Okay.
spend less money and buy Lightroom, because Lightroom has basic Photoshop capabilities. I think it supports layers, but yeah, I
We
would
also do Photoshop Elements as well.
That's what I meant. I'm sorry. Buy Photoshop Elements. Yeah.
Photoshop Elements? Okay.
But don't get the Creative Cloud version. See if you can go on like Amazon or something and actually buy software that you put into your computer, like a disc, like like.
I don't have a
Get
I
an
don't have a
older version.
DVD. I don't have a place to put anything in.
So how do you get
Get an
software
external.
onto your computer?
I have to download it.
Oh, you download it. Okay. Yeah, they probably have a downloadable version. But I would just if you can stay away from the cloud, because then you're going to be paying a monthly fee for your software, which is going to make you many stats when you're like, why am I paying?
It makes me many sats.
Yeah. I still I wish I would have. We'll talk offline, but because I don't want to say it.
Right.
I don't want to say something that would be,
I'm
reflect
trying
badly.
to remember, but I think
Adobe
my
is a bunch of crooks, and I was stupid for
tablet
doing it. I know.
No, not
Photoshop
that.
Elements?
Nothing like that. No. If I could afford it, I'd do it, but I just can't afford it.
What were you
was that,
saying,
Jack?
Jack?
Sorry,
I don't
Jack.
know, I was just trying to think back. I'm not sure, Randall, if you would know this either, but I think my tablet might have come with Photoshop Elements, maybe?
Oh, like a freebie?
Something like
Nice.
that.
It might have,
So-
actually, if it's a Wacom.
I don't know. If it did, I never installed it or
You could
used
look
it.
into that if you were in the market for something like that. But that's like a whole nother
Yeah.
ball of wax.
By the way, I'm kind of intrigued at your computer, Gene. What form of external or how do you get information into your computer? Like, is it old floppy drive?
No,
Or
no,
is
no,
it-
no.
Or is it just USB only, or is it just didn't come with a DVD drive, or
It didn't.
CD
It didn't come. It
with a
didn't come
CD
with
drive?
It didn't come with a drive. It's a
Wow.
Is it a laptop?
It's a laptop with a Core i5 and
but
an
it doesn't-
NVIDIA
Wait,
GeoForce
Greg,
NVIDIA.
that's been a thing for a couple of years now. Is that
no drives?
Yeah, they've been ditching the drive to make them thinner.
Wow.
And Randall's pissed off. He's like, "Fuck that."
Yeah.
He's
Yeah,
gonna run to
kind of a
Steve and
pain.
punch them in the eye.
He's gonna go take his grievances to the man.
Where are you going to find an optical drive?
There
It's
you
something this thin.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm so.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm so blown away by this.
The thin
So what's-
in favor of subtracting functionality has definitely gotten out of hand when they only give you like one fucking USB port. Also,
My
but
Mac-
that's
so
beside the point.
insane. Wow.
I don't
So
know that my
basically-
computer's that thin.
So does it just have like one USB port on the side, like Jesse's talking about?
No, I've got.
I'm exaggerating a little bit, but
I
like,
wouldn't be surprised.
fuck
I've
the new
got
MacBook
two.
Pros though.
You got two.
I've got
Yeah.
2 USB ports on one side and
You're getting a seasick.
3 or 4.
Oh,
And 3 or 4 other
Too
things
much.
on the other.
I had a bad experience on this ride once.
The thing is, it might not be hard to find an old copy with a license of something like Photoshop Elements, and it wouldn't be obviously you just have to get an external optical drive, which would cost you about like $25,
Yep, 30, 25, somewhere in there.
and then load it up on there, because
We sell them at Best Buy.
you do actually. Ding. It'd be great if you could get the logo to float over your head every time you said Best Buy.
I should just like make like a cardboard thing.
Oh, you totally should, dude. You gotta
Brought to you by Best Buy.
get one
Why
of
do you
your
keep saying that? They pay me every time I do.
Ding. And a little bell goes off.
I'm also looking for a drafting table.
Oh, that's good. That's a good thing to have.
If anybody
something.
hears of one or sees one or knows of one, somebody getting rid of one, let me know.
Craigslist, I'd say, would be the #1 place for that.
Bingo,
Where?
because
Craigslist?
Oh yeah.
They keep coming up local. I remember somebody got a really old-fashioned, real nice one for, I don't know, a couple $100, I think.
Yeah, you could get them from the granite industry. People who used to draft by hand,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and they don't do that anymore. It's all computerized now.
Yeah, that's
for the
why
most
everybody's
part.
dumping their drafting tables. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, I just use like a very, very, very old, like it's this hulking, heavy monster, but effectively it's an 8-foot card table, really, in essence. It's like one of those tables that used to be in a university classroom or something, and that's what I have. And I have a.
It's like the roll top desk of drafting tables.
Yeah, no, it's not a drafting table. I mean, it's just a straight, flat 8-foot. Or sorry, 6-foot table, like, but like remember, like when you went to college, like there might be like it seats 2 or 3.
Oh yeah,
like
yeah,
that
no,
kind of thing.
totally.
That's what I have, and it was a monster, but it only cost me $20 from Resource because like probably who would want it? It's ugly and it's brown but it works for me. I mean, but so sometimes that plus a tabletop drawing table. Or drawing board, I should say, is what they call it. And basically, they're elevated in the back like the way a drafting table is, but they're just a drawing board. But they stand up in the back, like, and you got that angle. You know what I mean. So it's like this.
Yeah.
So that's actually an item that you can get for $20, $30, $60.
Yeah, I think I want to
put on any table.
An actual table. I used to have
yeah.
one, and it had a light. I had a glass panel inset in the center with a light underneath it,
Sure.
and
Well, if that's what you want,
I got rid of it.
Staples also.
Yeah, I was going to say Staples. For sure. Yeah.
Mm.
I used to work there too.
Ding. And
You
Amazon.
need the other side, the other sign.
If I used to work at Amazon, it wouldn't be used to. I'd probably still want to be working there because money. But
Yeah, no kidding. Yes, Mr. Bezos.
I don't know what that means.
Jeff Bezos is the guy who invented and owns Amazon,
Oh,
and
good for him.
is worth more money than
He got a lot.
the world weighs.
Yeah.
Like, if you put all of his money end to end in dollar bills, nothing would ever stop. It just would never stop being.
Didn't he also didn't he do PayPal too? He and somebody else. Yeah,
he
like I don't know.
might have, because I think maybe the through line was maybe he was one of the people that sold their interest in PayPal, and then he went and made Amazon.
Yeah,
I'm bored. I'll buy an island. I'm bored again.
Yeah, well, in his case, I'm bored. I'll buy an internet.
I'll buy it.
I'll buy the internet.
Yeah,
Both of them. Dark.
Yeah. I would say, like, if you're if you want to I would say spend the money, get it new, go on Amazon, go on Staples, and get exactly what you want, and spend the money on it, and just have the setup. And the thing is, at least if you buy it that way, you get some buyer protection. Maybe if you have to return it, you can return it, especially Staples. Why not? Because honestly, like, the one thing about buying used is that if it breaks or something goes wacky, you don't really have any recourse with a local sale, like with a person just selling a used piece of equipment. So,
Yeah, I'd really like to get one of the old drafting tables, the really heavy duty, industrial style ones. I have a girlfriend who has one of those who does granite etching, and that thing's a monster. But man, is it fine!
yeah, they really are.
That is one fine ass table.
It is. Hey,
Absolutely.
girls gotta have dreams,
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with wanting a fine ass table.
We get that on a t-shirt.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So that's what's going on. So I like what you're working on, Jack. By the way.
Oh, I
Is he still
figured
there?
I'm still on the screen. I might as well do something.
Yeah.
Oh, look at you go!
Okay, so you're mapping that all in. That's interesting. That's good.
Sweet.
It's good. It'll be.
Yeah.
It's all these ideas. I mean,
Sorry, Jesse, no more buttons.
Damn it. I need my butts.
and you
I want
cannot
that
lie. And you cannot lie.
Oh, I liked her butt better than his butt. His butt looks a little, a little scrawny.
Well,
Well,
that was the
like
butt
one
to
of
which
those
I
things that
refer.
like I wasn't quite sold on. Like, I'm not sure. No, literally
There's
though.
always room to change.
Change
Like,
that
I'm not
butt.
sure if like.
I mean,
It's almost too curvy and narrow.
Well, yeah, cause like
This is not the kind of butt that
his
Gene likes.
blades,
No, right?
and it's like that's where the butt is. It's like I know I thought I mapped it out right, but it looks weird.
well, the other thing too is that some people really don't have them. Some people, men. I mean, there's a lot of men who it's really like their legs are connected to their torso, sort of.
Yeah.
It's
Mr.
not.
Hill, you have no ass.
The only thing I might say is just take that center line out of the pants and maybe drop some. It's a little wedgy like at the bottom, and you could just like erase. Yeah, there you go. Just a little subtle. More.
Yeah, that's more like a guy butt.
There you go. Well, I know my guy butts, so
Oh yeah.
let
Hey,
me
now
tell
wait a
you-
minute.
Let me tell you something, Miss Jean.
years of practice.
But that's like one way to do it, because like a lot of guys will have kind of droopy drawers, or especially if it's jeans, and so sometimes that can actually add some verisimilitude that physical perfection won't give you. Like sometimes having that kind of slight baggage back there and kind of like a little dumpy, that's actually kind of like somebody might be like, oh my God, I totally know someone with a butt like that. But if you go
so the more distinct the butt, the better.
well, it's almost like the more like kind of like, especially with guys, like I said, sometimes like the more almost like I don't want to say unattractive, but just imperfect and kind of sort of sloppy-ish, I think the better, because the way clothing hangs, the way like the weird sort of low-hanging jeans go, there's actually a lot of like, if you were to actually draw what people who even look good have back there with like the weird, a lot of jeans and things crumble and stuff, if you drew the lines, you'd be like, oh my God, that doesn't look right. That doesn't look good. But it's actually what it really looks like. It's just that, when you're looking at it in real life and you're, looking at a real person, there's a lot of changes that happen as you see it. But if you drew it literally, sometimes it actually could be quite, there's something almost like off about it. But I think that actually makes it more real,
Right. It actually
Or
funny
he
because it
Oh, go ahead.
plays
Sorry.
into like this kind of subplot that I have for these two here, where
Mhm.
like the idea is that like she's so overbearing that she even like picks out all of his clothes. So it's
Oh,
like he
great.
doesn't even like these pants. Like
Yeah, there you go. That's great. That's good. So we're going to see more of them. At first, we think that they're just throwaway characters, and then they're going to turn out to be. We're going to see more
potentially.
of them. Sorry.
Again,
I
I've
think
always
that's a
sketched
great
up
idea.
to here.
Yeah. Well, sometimes that can be really fun. Like, how like in Watchmen, there were all these main characters, but then there were a couple of characters that were probably could have been eliminated from the story, like the guy who runs the newsstand and the kid who's reading the comic, the Black Freighter comic. But like you could take that out and it wouldn't have necessarily wrecked anything about Watchmen. But the fact that it does cut to these bits that have nothing to do with what's going on, which is like this kid just keeps reading this comic at his newsstand, and the guy who runs the newsstand is sort of, he doesn't like tell him to take off. He like lets him read, but you can kind of tell it's sort of like not his favorite thing to let him do. And they constantly are talking about events that are current events in the world. Like it makes the book better because of these strange little bits of diversion. And sometimes like this, so it's kind of cool sometimes to have characters that are literally like, they don't connect up with all the rest of the main characters, but we connect with them, and it gives us this little place to kind of, like sort of like they're the waiting room before we go to the doctor, and it's like, but it's still
Right.
so it's got its own importance to it, maybe they're even oblivious to the rest of what's going on in the world,
Right.
The other characters know all the dire things, but they might be blissfully ignorant or something, like sometimes it's kind of interesting to have.
Well, I think that blue-haired girl is definitely blissfully ignorant.
She also runs the show.
Yeah, well, that may change by the looks of it.
Right, who knows? Yeah. That's actually a good question. So, like, since does anybody have anything else to show besides what Jack is doing? Because I don't. I know I don't.
Yeah, I haven't.
Yeah.
I haven't got. I can't even. Don't even know how to show it. So even if I did, so
Right.
and I need to do some work anyway.
That's okay.
All right.
So that makes me bring up a topic then, which is I'm having a lot of different stressors going on, and it's been rough kind of working. I'm probably talked about this last time even. But one thing I was wondering was, because it's not art block or something stupid like that. There's no such thing for one thing, but in my opinion, but it's more like, in real life adult language, when things are getting you to a point where you're just like, it's invading your ability to work. For me, I know that it's absolutely necessary to just say that it's okay to leave it to the side, because otherwise there's an entire there's a whole cascading effect of stress that then just makes it even harder to get to it. So what do you guys do when you're at that place where could be marriage stuff, could be, got to make money stuff, could be like clinical depression stuff, could be whatever. Like, what do you guys do when you're sort of like, I don't think I can work right now? Like, how are you? Because I think it's an important issue for artists and stuff to talk about.
For
I have
me,
all
if
of
I-
those.
Yeah.
Right.
If I have time,
Raise your
Why-
hand.
Why have just one? Why? It's like Lay's potato chips, right? Like, why?
right? if I have time and the weather is conducive, I find being in some kind of a totally natural environment,
Right.
away from other people where nothing is expected of me.
Hmm.
And it's sometimes hard to block out a bit of time for that. But that can I find for me that can just allow me to relax enough that I can try to get a handle on the craziness,
Hmm.
or at least forget the craziness for a little while to delve back into what I want to create.
Right.
So nature is that tends to be my go-to.
That's your coping. That's your coping mechanism.
Yeah. Yeah. Or Netflix binging.
I don't think there's anything
And
wrong with that. What about you, Jesse?
Oh God, this is a topic that I feel like I could go on forever about, because I feel like I've gone through the whole goddamn thing these past couple of months. Like when I was trying to see if doing art full time could earn me money, I was not creative at all. I was always constantly frustrated. I was trying to market myself and figure out exactly how I was going to appeal to people. And the minute I realized that I wasn't making any money and that, I didn't have any money to spend anymore and that I really needed to go back to working full time, which, I still don't want to do, but who wants to do that? I've realized, and I knew this going into it because I had read a book that helped me a lot with some of this stuff, like validating yourself as an artist and all this other shit. I realized that the minute the minute I asked my art not to make money for me is when my creativity came back. I just all I want to do is what I want to do, and if it earns any money or notoriety, then that's awesome. But it becomes a lot more for me and that in turn makes it better.
It takes the stress off of the creativity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
hated doing art for a living.
I really don't have the words for it at the moment, but it is just because I worked 9 hours straight today, but oh boohoo on me. But I think it's just like people who can, like, I've never really been able to, unless I'm doing like a fun commission for somebody, I've never really been able to be the kind of person who could draw something for somebody else. If like I had to illustrate someone's book and have constant notes and feedback about it, I think I would go insane. So having that as not only an outlet, but something I feel like I can be completely free with, makes the day job feel more bearable, I guess. But I don't know.
It makes a lot of sense. It definitely does. It's
I feel like everyone's like kind of just staring off in space, like, what the hell is this freak talking about?
No.
Not exactly.
No, not at all. It makes perfect sense, and it's a really it's a sensible way to approach it, because you're taking tremendous amount of heat off of the thing that you enjoy, because then it's sort of like clarifying. It's clarifying the difference between what you enjoy in life and what you need to do to survive. And if we were in a position to make all of our money from being really, from our comics, right? I mean, specifically, right? Well, then the stress factor to survive is worthy of going through, right? Because we know, every month I sell X number of books, and there's a certain amount going in the Patreon, and when I go to shows, I always know I make X dollars. So there's a huge compensator, right? But if we're not making that much money, then the thing that you're talking about becomes critically important, because it could poison the well, right? Very easily.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that you're making a wise choice, even though you're probably a little more tired, and week to week you might be frayed at the edges more because you've had to deal with stupid people at the job or whatever. But at least like when you go into comic mode, like it's impervious to poisoning, because you've made it sort of its own sacred place, right? And it doesn't get to be impinged upon by whether you have to pay the rent with it or something. And then you get to love it and just do it, right?
Yes.
So that's good, right? Like.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
And
So,
yeah, I mean, I actually have kind of, it's been interesting, because this last week I've actually been feeling, because I've been drawing almost every single day, and I'm very lucky. As much as I may complain about the day job, I actually do get to draw while I'm waiting for a call to happen, which sometimes can be a pretty long stretch during like the off season, as it were. So I'm very lucky in that sense that I get paid sometimes to actually draw. Like I penciled a whole comic today, which is just awesome. But what the hell was my point? I don't even remember.
I don't know.
Yeah, me neither.
I'm kidding.
That's why I'm asking. But no, yeah, I don't remember what the hell my point was. What was the?
We were talking about. I was sort of reiterating what you were saying, that you've got them separated. So like when you do the comics, it's pure again. It doesn't get poisoned by whether or not you got to pay the bills with it, and so you can enjoy it more purely. Enjoy what you're doing, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's important. Yeah. I guess the point the point I was trying to get at was like I've been feeling a little burnt out, because I have been drawing pretty regularly, the most I have in a very long time, but I don't really want to or know how to slow down at the moment. And that's always been a problem with me, is that I feel like I'm on the extreme of either one. I'm either sitting down for like hours on end playing a video game, lamenting that I'm not drawing enough, or I'm drawing too much thinking that I need to take a break but don't know how. So I have yet to ever figure out that balance. It's felt more balanced than it has in almost my entire life, I would say, but it still feels pretty skewed. I think the commitment I have to this current work, especially like ever since Inktober, my creativity has just been vastly improved. Like I'm doing, for the first time in a really long time, I'm really doing what I want to be doing, which just feels really good. You know, the tone the macabre shit that I'm doing.
Yep.
So, yeah. So still trying to find that balance. Don't really know how, but again, feels significantly, fuck if I know, as Jack's screen says. But yeah, it's yeah, I'm still trying to learn that balance, but again, feels more balanced lately than it ever has. So just gonna enjoy my burrito, as it were. I'm not gonna be upset that eventually there will be no more burrito. I'm gonna enjoy eating it.
Well, you never know. We might pay you enough on Patreon so you could get another burrito.
Yeah, but the thing is, almost everybody I give the same amount back to, so.
Well, then
it did not have the effect we were expecting.
We're just sharing. Dude, you have, like, that happens so much in this kind of area. Like, there's so many people that have that sort of situation.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, I think but I think, you know, I think it's a good thing. I think it says a lot about sort of people's sort of, I mean, in the group, there's a periphery and in Vermont Comic Creators, and then there's certain core people that I feel like, you know, they really communicate with each other, and they're really they're sort of into what each other's doing, and they're actually interested in cross promoting each other's stuff. And you know, I think in another year we'll even know more about who that sort of, you know, that population is or something.
Yeah, I think there has to be more of that too, because I know that I don't share enough of what everyone else is doing, and I think that it's really important that we share each other's work. I think we're so focused about like getting our own stuff out there that we forget that we are a community. And I mean, I'm still like I'm going nuts because I really feel like my comic has an audience, but I can't fucking find them. I just don't know where they are. Like, I got to go to a Hot Topic or something.
Maybe.
Just bring flyers with me to Hot Topic and be like, holy shit, I could go to the Hot Topic in the University Mall and bring them flyers and be like, just put these on your counter.
Sure. Yeah.
Give me some Invader Zim fangirls. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
I need them.
You know, Mike and I do what we can through the page, and there are people who are in the group who definitely individually, I think, you know, assert time to promote other people's stuff, but I can't speak for others. But yeah, I think you're probably right. I think the group would have there would be a lot of benefits to members of the group if more people in the group did that kind of cross. Perhaps, you know, perhaps that will happen. I can't say for sure.
Yeah.
But I do know that, you know, as things progress with the group, and as we do more things together, I think we'll probably find, you know, where or who or whatever that, you know, that's sort of. I think we're probably getting really close to that. I think if we were to, like, at next meetup, for instance, say, you know, yeah, let's talk a little more seriously about what we are and what we're doing. And also, you know, I think part of it is that we're at a stage now where it just really can't be just Mike and I. It has to be the efforts of more of the members taking on different stuff. And that's hard when everybody's got to, like, you know, like, do whatever, like, life stuff. But, you know, I mean, you know, Mike's got
like fucking life stuff.
Yeah, Mike's got 3 kids. You know, like, different people got all whatever they got going on. We're doing what we can.
Yeah.
Did somebody say something about iced tea in a really high pitched voice? It was like some kind of kooky thing.
Dude, you gotta get that brain tumor checked.
Is there weird noises coming out of Randall's? There's something funky going
The
on.
robot squirrel has
I'm telling you,
returned.
I'm telling
Me
you,
and my
there's
beard.
something going on over there. I guarantee you, whatever that is, it's from him. Guarantee it. It's some like little sound effect thing that he just threw out just to like disrupt the whole. I know what you're up to, Mr. Flozak Rollins. I know who you are. I know what you're doing. I know your name.
If that's your real name.
My dog is being obnoxious.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Your dog can mouth off about iced tea.
No, he's just being obnoxious.
I seriously thought I heard something go, iced tea.
I heard it too. I heard it too.
Really weird.
Just like that.
Yeah, no, it was in that little like elf voice or something. And it was like exactly, it was just like that. And I thought maybe like does somebody
It was probably me. I make weird fucking noises all the time.
Well, I was wondering like does somebody have like one of those flash sound? Oh, okay, that is the dog. All right.
Oh, now we.
Now I really hear the dog.
Panting.
Oh, stop! Get out of my lap!
Oh jeez. Oh jeez. Jean's getting massacred by her dog.
And that's how we lost you.
That's how we lost Jean. Jean died in a dog avalanche.
This is the last known image of her, and it's just like
Yeah. I mean, her dog jumped on her.
Or,
That was the end.
ow!
it's just like partly her face and a big snout right up at the lens.
Exactly. Doing.
This is the only photograph we have of the perpetrator.
Exactly.
Tonight on Unsolved.
Tonight, Unsolved Mysteries.
Right. I think Gene, we agreed that your first full length comic should be about you and your dog. And the craziness with the dog. I think that might be something to work out.
I don't think I want to draw a dog humping his pillow half the day.
Half the day.
That's a great comic, as far as I'm concerned.
Chris, yeah, whatever.
No, that's cool stuff.
Only half.
Yeah, exactly. Which half of the pillow? Heyo.
I gotta go to bed. I gotta get up in the morning.
Right.
I gotta be at work at 7:30.
Oh, jeez.
Okay, no problem.
Hey.
Well, thank you for being here, and thanks for your
Yeah.
insights and your participation.
Talk soon, everybody.
Thank you, Gene. Bye.
Bye. Great work, Jack.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye, Jack. Great work. Jesse, you suck.
I don't think she said that.
I'm kidding. She was thinking it, though.
Nah, you don't know what people are thinking.
It's a real burden, and I have no real friends.
You have us. Oh, well,
Yeah.
that's true. We're not real friends.
Well, if
I was
I'm
like, wait, you have us. It's like, oh no, it's really we're not really friends. Really.
no, I mean, I'm pretty sure anybody who could read anyone's mind would never have any friends because they would just know way too much about like the deepest, darkest, horrible things that people think.
Sure.
The things that are meant to be private.
Well, you can put them in your comics, right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh, the one I'm working on right now, it's killing me because it's like probably the most like fucked up one that I've done so far. I feel like I should share it.
Sure.
It's a quick group.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be what's the word? I don't need it critiqued at the moment, but I just feel like sharing it because it's just awful and it just makes me smile.
We'll go right ahead then.
All right, give me 1 sec here.
Nope, we're not going to give you a second. You have to tell us right now. No.
Fine.
10.
And you get nothing. You get nothing. All right.
Is this how you act like with the people that are on the phone at the phone center?
You
You get nothing.
You get nothing.
It's like you're that voice
Day, sir.
right. The voice you're using is like that voice you're using is like 50% Yoda and 50% Colonel Klink from Hogan's Heroes.
Nothing you get. Hang up the phone, I will.
See, that one I know.
Yes, yes.
Or actually, it'd be more like Sergeant Schultz from Hogan's Heroes.
All right, I'm going to share the thing here.
Oh, goodness.
All right.
I was up at 6:30.
Now, there's no word balloons pointing to anybody, but I think you can probably kind of figure it out.
Oh boy, we have a guy in the basement. I was wondering when that was going to start happening.
Well, I've already, this is like the 12th one. The 5th one introduces him. So this is like the second time you get to see this guy.
How have I been in this basement?
Didn't you share like the 2 panels there somewhere?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, I had that earlier on my regular post.
cool.
Yeah. Pay no attention to like word balloon placement, like, because I'm going to reorient all of that. It changed as I was drawing.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I just love this one because it might be the most depraved so far.
Mhm.
Just because he's such a dick.
Yeah, it's really good. The funny thing is, like, I almost want you to. I mean, you don't have to change anything, but with other strips in mind, where sometimes the other characters say the thing that, like, the audience might be thinking or something like that. I almost want to have like the bear and I don't know, the rag doll or something like that, and saying exactly what you said. Like, man, he's such a dick, and like, I know, like, or,
Oh, yeah.
something, you know what I mean? Like, just something like that. Like they're in the foreground, or they're just off to the side somewhere. Like, he's such a dick. Like
There actually is another word balloon that I had when I first laid out the text that I feel like Sorry Pal, I Couldn't Resist is funny just because we pan down to the guy just completely destroyed mentally.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But I did have another balloon that was like, but seriously, you'll probably be here until you die.
I like that. I also wouldn't mind like a thought balloon that the Jack has, and he's going like, I'm such a dick. Like that would be really funny. Like, actually, to me, like, there is something really grim about that, like,
or like, instead of I couldn't resist, like, sorry, pal, I know I'm a jerk.
Sure.
Because I don't really want to do swearing or overt gore, just because I do want it to sort of appeal to all ages, but like still be twisted enough. Like,
yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the language definitely clicks it over, and then you can't sell it to a kid or something. Yeah, that's really important. It also disrupts some of the softer, creepier stuff.
Yeah, there's also just a lot of stuff that I like to imply but not show.
Right.
So like when Agnes is talking about strangling children, the picture of her isn't even in that frame, like you try to balance that out as much as possible.
Right.
Writing that line has been interesting because I sometimes worry I'm not going far enough, but I don't want to go too far.
This makes me think of like completely like other train of thought of like all the toys having like maybe like a contest or something to see who can like freak him out the most, and then and he's just like deadpan, like it's like so difficult for the last person to even like get any sort of reaction out of him.
Oh my God, Jack, thank you so much. You just like totally nailed that last bit, because my plan was to show all of the characters doing something to him down there. And like The last one could be Agnes, like showing up and trying to scare him and getting no reaction. And the last panel could be her like slamming in the door and being like, "You guys ruined him!
You broke him. You broke the guy."
Time for a new guy."
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I think that might have to happen.
See, and this is how you get office workers.
Mhm.
they're just broken guys
You just
that they send back.
Right. Well, then you can have.
just send him out the basement, put him in the cubicle.
Well, I was gonna say
This
you
one's
could,
defective.
yeah, right. You could do a strip, a follow up then, where what happens is basically it's just them calling up a temp agency, and you have to use really vague language about what kind of worker they need, and it's like, well, it's it's pretty all-purpose type of individual, but we do need someone who could be easily startled, like like
Oh no!
how many words per minute? It's fine either way,
The
but
reverse of that could actually be really funny, where they pretend that they're a temp agency and they send the people that they've broken to the office.
Sure, yeah.
And it's like, yeah, no, it's not really afraid of anything. Definitely will do what they're told. You might call it Stockholm, but we like to call it loyalty.
Sure. There's a lot of things you could do.
Yeah.
It's it's sort of like the Night of the Living Dead remakes, the funny ones where it was like send more police, send more paramedics. Maybe you guys haven't seen those. The ones you ever see the ones from the 90s? The first remakes. They were
I
done
saw
for-
the Dawn of the Dead, but
no, like they're so basically like they made these movies where it was called like the first one might have been called Night of the Living Dead, but I mean, because of course it's public domain, so like they could use the name, but basically they did like Return of the Dead and stuff. But the gimmick on it was that the movies were mostly like a lot of laughs.
oh, is it the Of the Living Dead movies? Which
Yes.
is like the
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Okay, I've seen I think like the
Toxic-
fourth one where it was like toxic waste in the basement, where
Yeah.
they're a lot funnier.
Yeah, and it's a lot of
Then- Yeah, they're very tongue in cheek.
Yeah, a lot of gross outs, a lot of sexy stuff, but
Yeah,
basically,
yeah.
like they're total like toilet humor
That
and
one chick in that one that was into body mutilation or something. I'll never
right.
forget that one.
She becomes the warrior who kind of like takes the ball.
Yeah.
But like at the end of the very first one, and it might have been a stinger after the end of the credits, you see this one dead and it kind of crawls up into the ambulance after having eaten the brains of the ambulance drivers, and it like gets on the horn and it's like it's like I forgot what he says, but basically the dispatcher gets on and he goes like, "What do you need?" And he goes, "Send more cops." like
Yeah, I think I do remember that actually.
And that's like the kind of you could sort of do the same kind of joke, like send, we need more
Interns.
we need more temp. Yeah, exactly. We need
More
interns.
temps.
And more typists.
Like
Send more temps.
yeah, exactly. See, like, it could be, those poor people,
Code monkey, get a job.
right? Because I mean, in the end, I mean, monsters need victims. It's not like they were, they need them. It's like
Gotta have things to terrorize.
otherwise,
Heck yeah.
much of a monster.
No. Yeah, and I mean, they have all come from some kind of background in terrorizing of some kind anyway. So again, I don't know why they're all living together in the stall house now. I don't care. It's just what they're doing. Well, it's like I keep saying, I have a composition book that's like 3 pages of me trying to figure out why they're all in this scenario together before I finally like literally wrote in the book, fuck it doesn't matter. Because it was putting so many restrictions on what I could do with it.
Right,
So
really,
I finally had,
like, do they even care?
Not really. I went through this whole thing where it's like, oh, they're like reformed or whatever, but like that's not fun.
Mm-hmm.
They need to be able to enjoy they need to be able to embrace their natures.
Of course.
Embrace their twistedness, I guess.
Yes. Well, you do what you do, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
This is also the first example. I have examples of Jack changing his face a whole bunch of times before this, but this is the first time he uses it to terrorize somebody, so it's extra fun.
Right.
My character is apparently terrified of your character right at the moment.
Oh God, no.
It's like, hey, what the shit?
Well,
God.
I've just been fiddling with page edits. So I moved that character over on page 37 from his word balloon on the bottom, and then I tried to like make it look like we're looking at the character's back at the top left.
Here, it's keep forgetting I'm in charge of the video stream here, so so I think does everybody see him in the center now?
Yeah.
Good. Okay.
By the way, to anybody who's still watching, I think we're pretty much done. We're just kind of hanging out now.
Yeah.
Which is fine by me, but I just wanted to throw that out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in fact, I'm probably gonna get out of here because oh boy, it's 10:30.
Yeah,
I was up early, and the wife will be home very imminently, so I should probably go.
That's cool, man.
My wife has gone to bed, so my night's pretty much free at this point, but I do need to get going on my nightly excursions into the wilderness, i.e. the street.
All right there, Deathwish.
Jesse's got to go out and live that thug life, out on the streets.
I'm thinking more like Charles Bronson,
So if you know my pants, the thug life, my pants are hanging halfway down just because I'm a fat guy, not because I'm a punk.
You're not fat, dude. You're not fat. You're like, you're not fat.
Thanks, brah.
I'm very much fat, so I can tell you if you're fat or not.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'll give it to you. A little overweight, perhaps, but that's it.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. As I go on for like the 15th time, that's
Yeah, probably a good idea.
done.
All right, guys.
It's over.
Over. Hooray.
Woohoo.
Hooray.
See y'all
Have a good
next
night, buddy.
week, probably.
Catch you later, Randall.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah. I've definitely, weight-wise, I've definitely let myself go these past couple of months going back to work because I was seeing a trainer for a while, but then I realized I couldn't afford to see the trainer anymore, so I kind of slipped into eating more less good and all this other kind of stuff. But I'm paying a little bit more attention to it now, but I haven't really it's that whole balance thing again. It's like, oh, I'm drawing a lot. Oh, I'm earning money. Oh, my home life is happy. I can eat a cupcake.
Right.
It's like balancing that shit is so difficult, and just paying attention to it all. It's like, I mean,
it's a lot. Yeah.
I've been in massively worse shape. I mean, back in 2012, I was over 300 pounds, so I've definitely come a long way since then.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah.
Yeah, I topped out at 490.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, it was pretty bad. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not great now, but it was way worse then.
Yeah, but I mean, you can think about where you've been and
Oh yeah,
feel good about that at least. I mean, yeah, it was like 322. I think was my absolute worst.
right.
Yeah.
Couple times in my life, I've actually gotten down to basically a normal weight, 225, something like that, and you know, actually gone down to a regular size clothes and
Yeah.
everything.
About like
and
240 something now.
Yeah. Oh well, yeah. I mean, you got to lose about what 25, 30 pounds.
Roughly, yeah, like 220 is around where I would like to be ideally, but I tend to freeze somewhere around like 239 is where I kind of get stuck.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
This is now the weight loss live stream, ladies and gentlemen.
Look, I mean, that's a part of being an artist. I mean, a lot of artists gain weight. A lot of people.
It's a lot of sitting on ass.
Yeah, and also there's a lot of stress and other stuff that comes from it too. So there's a lot of like, you know, substances, and one of the substances could be food.
Yeah.
Very easily. And yeah, I mean, like this is not, you know, unknown. For sure.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
So yeah, kids, like, you know, you say you want to be an artist, huh? Well,
just enjoy the hobby.
that's right. Just think of it as like something to do on the weekends, like you know, like build.
That also gives me more of a chance.
That's right. Forget it, kid. Just switch to making ships and bottles or something. Because
get the fuck off my lawn.
Well, no, because it's a lonely.
Get off my panels.
Right, it's a lonely life, kid. People don't appreciate you, and then when you're done, what do you got? A big pile of paper with ink on it.
I didn't know we turned into the bitter stream.
Give me another bottle of that Vtccg. I'm not quite there yet. Like,
ooh, Jack, I like how you are aiming the word balloon more toward their face.
Oh, thank you.
Sorry.
I didn't want to bring that up, but that's always something that nags me, that I always try to do, is to try to get it as close as to their mouthful area as humanly possible. It's not necessary, but someone once told me that that's a good idea. I don't remember who. They were probably a jerk, but.
Well, I'm not sure how like with how this panel is, like putting the tail underneath seems kind of
Well, the thing is, tails from the top is technically a no-no, but the way that you solve the problem is that their tail doesn't have to be that long, and it should come off of the. If you want to look at the balloon as in quarters, it should come off the bottom right quarter.
Why is that a no-no per se?
Because it's.
Because someone said so. That's fine. You can just say that.
No, it's not because mom said so. It's for a reason. And one of the basic reasons, one of the basic ways to explain it is like if the balloon was, see, now if you took that and did a transform and flipped it on the vertical and then flipped it and flipped it on the vertical, then you'd have exactly what you need. Because right now what you're pointing at is a person that doesn't exist, who's off panel on the top, and that's the thing. Like if you wanted to draw a balloon pointing up, it would be because there was actions and characters and
there you go.
There you are. That would be going on above, right? So that balloon might be down in that lower right, lower left area, and in order to get it pointed right, because let's say there was dialogue up top with another character pointing to the left, well then you would have a balloon pointing up, because the only space is for the balloon to be at the bottom, and it's got to point to the right hand character, so you point up, right?
Well, so that could be like that.
Sort of, yeah, sort of. It'd be going off of it a little more to the side, but yeah, but basically yes. And the balloon might be a lot lower even, you know. But anyway, those are curving up, curving, yeah. Like it's always better to be curving up, not curving over from the top. Like no, the last way you had it, like from the under, right? Yeah, like it's always like you know like that. Yeah, sort of like that curve, right? That's the way I was taught anyway. It's always under and over, no matter what. You know, like very rarely you'll see a balloon tail where it's actually coming off the top and going overhand, over and across. Like it's not very often. Rarely.
So no tails like this.
Yeah, that's like no
Make
way.
it stop! Make it stop! It burns!
There's so many bad ones. I'm gonna. Do you have Illustrator, Jack?
I have the CS2 version.
But yeah, so you have it. All right. So sometime you got to come over and I'll show you how to do lettering. And if Mike's around that day, he could also show you he could show you how he does it. But I can, you know, because I think it's once you start dealing with that, you'll see like it will be a different look. It's a different look, and it might not be a look you like. But it'd be interesting to at least see how you take to it. It's a whole other kind of. It's like pulling vectors and you know, sort of like making balloons that way. But by doing vector balloons, it's really good because you can squish them and stretch them and do it.
Right.
They don't you know, like, well, you know, because you know it's bad. And so that's why it's the way like professional lettering is done, because of that, you know, exact reason. So basically all the art's done on the you know drawing end and then Photoshop or whatever to color, and then those those flattened JPEGs or whatever are brought at full resolution. I mean, but then they're associated as the base for the Illustrator file, and then all the lettering is done in Illustrator. You can letter in Photoshop, but there are certain limitations to the way it deals with letters. It deals with text as a vector in Photoshop that you have more freedom to do in Illustrator.
Right.
But you know, I mean, not everybody's gonna go into like some high end space with lettering. I don't, you know. But I think for the next pages that I do, I'm gonna switch over once I've got locked down kind of what my like lettering font's gonna be now.
I have a font that I bought on Blambot that by some miracle looks like my handwriting on like the best day of handwriting of my life.
That's great.
And I created. I actually went online and looked up I traced a word balloon shape that I liked, which essentially looks kind of like the shape of an old boob tube TV, and turned it into a custom shape in Photoshop. So I just am able to free transform that to whatever size I need.
That's good.
So that has been incredibly helpful for me to streamline that process. And then I just use like the polygonal lasso to create the tails, unless it needs to be curved, and then I go in manual.
So is this font the one that you bought?
Yes.
Which one is it?
It's called Sequentialist BB.
Huh. How much?
I think $12.
Oh, that's great.
It might have been 20, but I can't remember. It was a couple of months ago, and I have no concept of money.
It's a nice one.
Yeah, I actually I had one of my Rip and Gage comics open, and I replaced all the text with the font that I had handwritten, and I put them on 2 separate layers. And I showed my wife. I was like, okay, just take a quick look at this. Like, look at everything on this page. And she was like, okay. And then I had her turn around, and I hid the handwritten and put in the font, and she couldn't tell the difference.
That's great.
It's like she turned around and looked back at it, and she was like, "You didn't change anything." Like, yay!
Yeah, you
So-
did notice.
Yeah. And if you don't notice, no one will.
Well, now that you told us, though.
I know. And when everyone's super, nobody will be.
There you go.
But yeah. It feels good to have, at least I feel like I have successfully, I have successfully vanquished the font monster, as it were, the font demon.
Nice.
The lettering gods are appeased.
Mm.
I think I am going to call it a night, friends.
Yay, thank you for
Yes.
stuff and whatever.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for your feedback on that page. It was very, very helpful going forward. I think I'm ready to finish that one, which is awesome.
Yay.
So it's a very, very good thing. And all right, you guys have a great night, and thank you again for another awesome, successful crit group.
Thank you.
Woohoo.
Bye bye.
Good night. All right. So I guess that's it.
Coolio.
Yeah, that's what the kids say. All right. So I'm gonna just wrap things up by saying thank you everyone for watching, all 2 of you, and if you happen to be watching this after, I didn't save the changes to the description. Hold on a second. Let's just save that. See what happens here. There we go. Yeah, so let's see here. So if you are watching this at a different time, or after recording this, I just want to let you all know that we do get together once a week usually, and if we can, we will have some more folks with some more work, hopefully. And in tonight's show, Jack was here. You can read his book online, Harmony Monsters, at tapas.io/series/Harmony Monsters. Jesse DURONA's work is always at jessedurona.com, but also at his Facebook page, Jesse D Comics. Randall can be found at randalldrew.com and his Facebook page, Arcadia Comics. I can be found at flameape. It's .org. I gotta fix that. But anyway, you can find me at flameape anywhere. But you can also find me at flameape, The Art of Gregory Giordano on Facebook, Holiday Mountain Madness on Facebook, and also holiday.com if you want to read the first part of Holiday Mountain Madness. So read all those comics and share them, and buy those that are in print, and support your local comic creators because they're out there. You may not know about them, but they're there, and they're making their own books, and they're doing really interesting things. And if you are in the Vermont area and you are either making comics or you are interested in making comics, you can contact us through Vermont Comic Creators group, which is a Facebook-based group that houses Vermont Comic Creators, the actual organization. And we now have over 145 members, and it would be great to see you in there too. So if you're either making comics or you are interested in learning how, we do work with people, and nobody's turned away as long as you're actually making comics and posting in the group. So Vermont Comic Creators, look for us on Facebook. And that is that.
Yay.
Totes yay. Okay, so I guess I'm gonna shut this down.
Cool. I didn't even know we were still live streaming, to be honest. Whew.
Nope, there's live stream. So yeah, so watch us again next week or in the next coming weeks. Look for these tags and look for this name Vermont Comic Creators and Crit Group, and you'll find it. So anyway, and now we're gone. We're out. Goodbye. Adios.